Okay, good afternoon. We'll call this regular board meeting for Wednesday, January 11th, 2023 to order at 4:02 p.m. Roll call, please, Marcella.
Dr. Bankus? Here. Director Daniels?
Present.
Director Jorgensen?
Here.
Director Loma?
Here.
Director Malpacum?
Here.
Director Nelson?
Here.
Director Ott?
Here.
So we have full attendance from all the board members here in person today. Okay, as we move into a moment of silence, I do want to take a moment and I want to share something that has been weighing on my heart for over the past few days. Holidays are a great time for friends and families to get together. It's a happy time for many, but holidays can also be a difficult time for some, especially our young students who have experienced loss or trauma in their life, resulting in increasing feelings of stress, anxiety, and depression. And without a supportive family structure, it heightens their feelings of insecurity, anguish, causing them to become increasingly isolated and disconnected. So as we move into this moment of silence, I encourage us to reflect on the mental and emotional health of our students and how we as adults can ensure every child is known and cared for in our schools. Thank you. Thank you. Vice President Jorgensen, can you please make a motion to adopt the agenda? And it's a long one.
I see that. Good evening. I move that the Board of Education adopt the agenda as amended by removing items F1, contract awards, and F2, budget transfers, appropriations, and FTE approvals, as there are no contract awards or budget transfer appropriations and FTE approvals, and further amend the agenda to move the superintendent's report under preliminaries for this meeting and remaining meetings for the 2022-2023 school year.
Second.
Moved and seconded, and just quickly to our community that might be watching, we discussed this at the work session last week, and I want to share the rationale behind this change. Superintendent Gall's report has an increasing focus on student, and as a board on students. As a board, we have time and again stated our students come first in everything we do, including the board meeting and board meeting agenda and business. So by moving the superintendent's report to the top of the agenda, we will ensure our students indeed come first and we don't have to keep them waiting. With that, if there are no further discussions, roll call please, Marcella.
Director Bankus?
Aye.
Director Daniels?
Aye.
Director Jorgensen?
Aye.
Director Loma?
Aye.
Director Malpacum?
Aye.
Director Nelson?
Aye.
Director Ott?
Aye.
The ayes have it. The revised motion has been adopted. Vice President Jorgensen, we have another motion following that.
Yes, I move that we remove from the table item G2, Unified Improvement Plans for the following schools: Adams Elementary, Audubon Elementary, Carver Elementary, Columbia Elementary, Fremont Elementary, Martinez Elementary, Penrose Elementary, Twain Elementary, Mann Middle School, Swigert Aerospace Academy Middle School, West Middle School, and move under action as the first item.
Second.
Moved and seconded, and we do this because we tabled all these items at prior board meetings, and we need to move them from non-action to action today. Roll call, please, Marcella.
Director Bankus?
Aye.
Director Daniels?
Aye.
Director Jorgensen?
Aye.
Director Loma?
Aye.
Director Malpacum?
Aye.
Director Nelson?
Aye.
Director Ott?
Aye.
The ayes have it. This motion has been adopted. We do have executive session today. Secretary Bankus, can you please make the motion to enter into executive session?
I move that the Board of Education convenes into executive session to discuss personnel per CRS 24-6-4024F. Particular matter, Board of Education Superintendent relationship.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call, please, Marcella.
Director Bankus?
Aye.
Director Daniels?
Aye.
Director Jorgensen?
Aye.
Director Loma?
Aye.
Director Malpacum?
Aye.
Director Nelson?
Aye.
Director Ott?
Aye.
The ayes have it. The motion has been adopted. We will enter into executive session now and reconvene for the rest of our board meeting at approximately 5:30 p.m. in the boardroom. Thank you. Okay, we're going to start the board meeting. Direct. Hello. Okay, good evening. Thank you. We have returned from executive session. It is great to see some familiar faces back in the boardroom and some new faces for the first official board meeting of 2023. Happy New Year to all of you. I hope all of you had a wonderful holiday season. So coming from the executive session, right at the very top of the meeting, I do have a brief message to share with the community. The board just conducted an informal mid-year evaluation of the superintendent in executive session earlier this afternoon. In the 4 years I've served on the board, this is the first time that the board collectively as a body performed such a mid-year evaluation. The entire board was engaged. We had a healthy discussion, and the feedback will be shared with the superintendent. And when you talk about the roles and responsibilities of an elected school board, chief among them is to ensure accountability in the system. And that starts from the board dais and extends all the way into our schools and classrooms. The board has one employee, the superintendent. It is the board's job not only to employ the superintendent, but also hold the superintendent responsible for managing the schools in accordance with state, federal laws and board policies, and ensuring consistent progress is being made in accomplishing the board priorities, which is behind me right here on the board dais, especially those relating to the educational outcomes pertaining to our student. So the board as a whole body takes that responsibility very seriously. The board holding the superintendent accountable for his performance. He, in turn, holds the rest of his staff accountable, all with the goal of ensuring our students are safe, cared for, and receiving a rich, rigorous educational experience in our schools, driven by outcomes. So based on the conversations and discussions that occurred in executive session and the evaluation that was conducted, the next step is for the board president to inform the superintendent if the board intends to enter into negotiations for the purpose of extending his contract. And this board has been completely transparent in the way it has conducted its business and continuing in the spirit. Looking to my left at my board colleagues, by a show of thumbs, is the board supportive of entering into contract negotiations with Superintendent Gall for the purpose of extending his contract? Okay. I see the board is unanimously and enthusiastically supportive of entering into contract negotiations with you, Superintendent Gall. And when the contract is finalized, the board will approve the contract at a future board meeting. And then Superintendent Gall, to you, the personal message is the board is deeply appreciative of the work that you have undertaken in turning around the district's enrollment and performance. And I will meet with you and Vice President Jurgensen will join me over the next few days and share the board feedback with you. With that, I'm going to give you a brief minute. Do you have anything to?
First of all, thank you to the board for your confidence in this first year and in the potential opportunity for many years to come. As I shared in our session and executive session, this is a perfect intersection for me personally and professionally. I've never felt more opportunity and ready to be able to find the calling of this work of our board priorities. And so with that, to the community that's here tonight, let's get some more stuff done.
Get stuff done, GST. Thank you. So with that, going back to the board agenda, We have returned from executive session, and there is no need to modify the agenda. For those of you who did not see the start of the meeting, the agenda was adopted by removing items F1, contract awards, F2, budget transfers, appropriations, and FTE approvals, as there are no contract awards or budget transfers, appropriations, and FTE approvals, and was further amended to move the superintendent's report under preliminaries for this meeting and the remaining meetings for the 22-23 school year. And that was, I shared the rationale behind that. It was to put our students first and to ensure that our students get back home at a reasonable time and we are not keeping them waiting. In addition, item G2, unified improvement plans for the following schools: Adams, Audubon, Carver, Columbia, Fremont, Martinez, Penrose, Twain elementary schools, and then Man Middle School, Swigert, West Middle School was removed from the table and was moved under action as the first item. That was a long thing that I had to read out. The next thing, may I please have, hopefully I got these names right, Gavin, Dallas, and Eden from Buena Vista Elementary to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I appreciate that. You guys were awesome.
They'll be back.
Yeah. So the next, I shouldn't be talking about this, but the next item on the agenda is School Board Recognition Month. Is that even a thing anymore? I say that tongue-in-cheek, ironically, as some in our community don't want to acknowledge or recognize any accomplishments by the board. So, but I know my good friend, Councilman Tom Strand, is here to share a few words. I will turn it over to the superintendent for the introduction.
Yes, it is School Board Appreciation Month, and in appreciation, City Council Member and President Tom Strand, please come forward and read our proclamation.
Thank you, Superintendent Gall. Happy New Year to everybody. I was just thinking as I was driving down here that it's 16 years ago that I was sitting up here as one of your board members for District 11 School Board, and took over in February of 2007 as an appointee, and then ran in November of 2007, and served with people like Willie Brazell and people in this community who have really kind of been the foundation for what's going on. I was involved with actually hiring Nick Glitich to be your superintendent. So I've now been on city council for 8 years. You can serve 2 4-year terms. I was just telling some of the board members that we had a meeting yesterday that started at 9 a.m. and finished at 1 a.m. Not very well planned. So if I mess up on the proclamation, please excuse me. So I'm here on behalf of Mayor Suthers and the other 8 city council members to read this proclamation. Colorado Springs School District 11, School Board Appreciation Month, January 2023. Whereas, school boards create a vision for what students should know and to be able to do. And whereas, school boards establish clear standards for student performance and ensure that student assessments are tied to established standards. And whereas, school boards align the school district resources to ensure that students meet those standards. And whereas, school boards create a climate that supports the philosophy that all children can learn at high levels. And whereas, school boards are committed to continuous education and training on issues related to student achievement. And whereas, the board has been providing quality education to the Colorado Springs School District children for 150 years. Final whereas, the City of Colorado Springs and the Colorado Springs School District 11 have collaborative relationships built on trust and teamwork to make this community better for all. Now, therefore, I, Tom Strand, President of Colorado Springs City Council, do proclaim January 2023 as Colorado Springs School District 11 Board Appreciation Month. And in Colorado Springs, Colorado, today I urge all citizens to recognize and appreciate the work that the Colorado Springs School District 11 School Board does to provide a world-class education for all students, signed by me, Colorado Springs City Council President. So I'd like to provide this to our superintendent. Thank you, sir. I don't know, are you taking a photograph?
Taking a photo, can we get, Deborah's out sick.
Okay.
So
We have a board out there. Anyway.
Get up here with our president. So this is one of your principals that's taking the picture. Yes. Montessori, they do a lot of stuff with their hands.
That's over on Pike Street, right?
It's actually a sketch.
One more.
One more.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Councilman Strand, before you leave, thank you. Thank you for being here in person to read that proclamation. Truly, truly appreciate your kind words and thoughts. And please pass along our gratitude to the rest of your council members out there too. Thank you. Appreciate it. Moving along, the next item on the agenda is the school spotlight. Mr. Gall, I'll
Yep.
turn it over to you.
Just as I get Angie to come forward from Buena,
I'll also have to remember that 6 p.m.
at 6 p.m. we have to stop
yeah.
for public comment. So why don't can we accelerate that? Or I don't want to cut the school spotlight off. Can you call for that to happen?
I
It's 5
can
to 6.
start singing for the next 2 or 3 minutes. No, I would clear up the room pretty quickly. That's what is going to happen.
No, so
Yes. Do you want-
I'll take care of it. I have a couple other things to cover. I'll just fill here for a couple of minutes. I want to explain the size of the audience this evening. And so I appreciate the board in allowing the superintendent's report to come forward. We certainly want students to be a part of our board activities because that's what we are all here for. But I also want students to be able to get home at a reasonable hour with their parents. And sometimes the superintendent's report would happen after public comment, which would mean sometimes we were at 8:30 at night before students were having the chance to celebrate both their teachers, their staffs, and the work that we do. And we have several schools that are here this evening. We have Buena Vista that's here for part of the school spotlight. One of the things that we'll be doing now is the Pledge of Allegiance will always come from the school spotlight to make sure that we're getting students from those schools coming forward. I think you'll really like how Buena Vista will talk about the Montessori experience. We also have both Rudy and Coronado folks that are here tonight, which is about our community partnership. That will be part of my superintendent's report. The DAC chair will be leading that, but that's why you see a lot of those strong school colors. We also have all of principal representation from the 17 schools that have to be approved tonight for their school improvement plans, which those who watch our board meetings have noticed us doing 2 or 3 at a time over the last couple of months. Tonight is that crescendo event where the board will hopefully approve those so that we can continue to do the strong work that we've been doing there. And I think that's most of the people that we have here. I'm going to show a slide here in a minute, but I know many of you had a chance to be able to grab some food, some of the appetizers that were outside. And so both our Pro Start and our culinary arts students at Doherty are here and represented by the blue and green of Doherty that you see here as well. And we'll explain a little bit more about that that. They also served dinner to the Board of Education for our executive session tonight. We have used the ProStart culinary arts programs to also serve other students. I host a senior advisory board once a month, and last month I had the ProStart students serve their own students. And I think all of us know that although it's difficult to make your boss happy, and it's really difficult to make your employees happy, making your peers happy is probably the greatest risk. And so my hat's off every time students are willing to stand in that space and be able to do that. So I think we're almost there.
Yeah, we are almost there.
Is
And
that
I'm
the
just going
six?
to make a quick comment. The food was delicious down there. We really enjoyed it, and I hope they were going to serve some appetizers in the back. I hope all of you got an opportunity. These students are doing some incredible things. At 16 and 17, I don't remember ever cooking a meal. The only meal that I used to cook was ramen noodles, and I don't think you can go wrong with that. But these kids were, it was similar to going to a high-end restaurant and having a high-quality meal. So
Can we give them a round of applause?
There,
Yes.
that for 15 seconds.
So we do have a public comment? Okay. So at 6 p.m., we had public comments on our school improvement plans. And I have one public comment that has been submitted to me. So Ms. Jeanette McCormick. Oh, okay. I'll start with Ms. Jeanette McCormick. Is this for our 6 p.m. public comments? Because the subject matter that I am looking at, it looks like you're going to be talking about charter schools.
That is correct.
Okay, then I will call you at a different time. And then I have Michelle Warwick. I will call you again, Ms. Jeanette. Okay, Ms. Michelle Warwick. And this is about priority improvement turnaround schools?
Yes, but I'm not sure if I was supposed to sign up for the 6 o'clock or if it was just supposed to be under non-action items because
Right.
what I'm talking about is listed under non-action items
That's
on
fine.
here.
If you are talking about priority improvement and turnaround schools and the school improvement plans, this is the right.
I was going to be talking about homework.
No,
No?
it's not
Okay.
about homework. So
Okay.
I will call you back again.
Okay.
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, sorry about that. I don't think we have any public comments on school improvement plans itself.
Okay, so right back to Buena Vista. Angie, you want to come forward and kick off our school spotlight?
So I'm Angie Procknow, I'm the principal at Buena Vista, and you're gonna get an opportunity to see some things that we do as part of our Montessori model, because it's a pretty original model and it doesn't look the same as every other school that you've probably been to. So I have the privilege of working alongside an amazing staff. I have this slide, I promise I won't read the whole thing, because the superintendent said keep it tight, and I could read forever. So, what you need to know about that is that I have the privilege of working alongside an amazing staff at Buena Vista. They are a well-prepared staff. As you see, I'm prepared teacher as part of the Montessori model. They not only have CDE licensure, but they are also trained in the Montessori model, which is a whole separate subset of certification. So that means for you out here, they went to a lot of school to do what they do, right? So they are experts, and I get the privilege of working alongside them and doing the work that we do every day. For the prepared environment, the teachers have a lot to do with that, but it also has to do with the way that we set up the room. When you walk into a Montessori classroom, you're not gonna see everybody doing the same thing at the same time. You will see in a minute, we have child-side desks, we have mats that they're gonna lay on the floor. It's gonna be great, they're gonna love it. We give tours, although we're gonna have to start organizing the times because the tours are getting full. All right.
Which is a good thing.
Yes. One of the things about a prepared child is that they do a lot of independent choice in their day. So we start the day with a set of things that they have to accomplish, but they can do them in a different order. You'll see that they manage their own materials, starting with our youngest students in preschool. And so that's how they come to the environment prepared as well. And then we try to prepare that environment with freedom with limits. Okay? One common misconception of a Montessori model is that they are just everywhere, all over the place, all the time. And you would see if you come see our school that that is not the case. Have to throw out our little pathway model here. If you've seen a movie lately, you might have seen this commercial. And to explain just a little bit about what it means, we like to equate it as that play is the work of the child, which is a Maria Montessori quote. And just like they play in a sandbox, similar to how, if you're used to the tech world, they do a lot of play before they play independently as well. One of our major tenets is the greatest gift we can give our children are the roots of responsibility and the wings of independence. And you'll see when you enter our buildings, we don't do a lot of assisting students with things until they ask for help or until they advocate for themselves. And I think if you've been around children in small sizes lately, that's a skill that sometimes is missing. So we do a lot of work with having them do things independently. Along with our prepared teachers, we have a staff longevity timeline, and I would say we have teachers that have been with us since the 2000s, which in the teacher shortage we're in right now, that's a pretty rare existence. And so I wanted to point that out, and also to point out that the stack on the right is just because we're new to Buena Vista. The majority of those teachers have more than 2 years experience prior to coming there as well. And I would not be talking about Buena Vista without talking about our community and all the involvement we get. The parents that you see badges for on that picture are only the parents that come often enough that it saves them time to actually register and have a badge, which takes about 15, 20 minutes. But they come so often, it's much easier for them to just be able to click in and click out. So it tells you how much involvement we have on a regular basis in our school. We also have alumni that come along with our PTA and School Accountability Committee. If you come by one of our BV 101s, the alumni will tell you how what they learned in the Montessori model helps them with what they're doing today. And the students would be sad if I didn't mention that they get to stay after school for clubs, because it's one of their favorite parts of the day, but it really is just an extension of the learning that we're doing all day long. And now, what the hand does, the mind remembers. So what we're gonna do now is our students are actually gonna come up and they're gonna show you, just like in the normal classroom times, you're gonna see them grab their own mats. You're gonna see that they're carrying their own work, which would be placed on really organized shelves in a leveled manner so that they know where to get what level they are working on. And they are gonna bring it to their places and set up their own work. And then to help you walk through the work that they're doing up here, there's a picture of it up here. And I have one of my very prepared teachers, Jill Doyle, to explain how that shows the vertical alignment of the activities that they have in front of you today.
So in the light of time, the students will be working while I'm talking and describing the materials that are before you. When they start to finish, one or two students may come to the board and ask you to check their work. So please just initial if they ask you to check their work. So what you have on this side, so you'll see the pink tower. This is a primary, sorry, I'm nervous. This is a primary student, and it goes from quantity from large to small, and it's a gradient measure. I just want you to observe the cubes because you're going to see it later. This is another primary student. Oh, by the way, that was Penny. This is Ruby, and Ruby is doing the Montessori beads. She's going to use that work to do addition, subtraction facts, and counting, number sense. Then on this side, you have Eden, and Eden, so this is lower L, and I want you to note that the beads are the same colors. So she's jumping ahead to the four chain and the, she gave me a thumbs up. The 4 chain and the long chain. So the short chain is just the 4, 8, 12, 16. The long chain goes 4 all the way to 64. So we're doing more than the state and the district requires from us to teach our multiplication facts. So just note. And then Gavin right here, next to me, this would be the second work. So he's actually stamping out all the long chains, and then he might come to you and check his 4 chains and verbally tell you that he knows it. So he's right here doing that. And then we have, so Eden and Gavin are lower L, and then we have Dallas who's upper L. And so again, I want you to note that he's also doing the pink tower. He's also doing the same colors as previous and primary. And so Dallas is actually doing area and volume. So area is length times width. So on the 4 chain, for example, he's going to write 4 squared equals 4 times 4 equals 16. And then when he does his volume work, it's length, width, and height. So he's multiplying length, width, and height. So on the 4 cube, he's going to write 4 cubed equals 4 times 4 times 4 equals 64. And he's going to do that with all of the cubes starting from the primary pink tower. So it's all connected, the pathways united, and it just builds one on top of the other. And it's just a wonderful, strong Montessori program. But it's thank you.
All right, students, you may clean up your work, and I think you have something that you wanted to ask. Dr. Take that one. Yep. He's good.
You
said your thoughts today.
Do you want to speak in the mic? Yeah, speak.
4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, 36, 40, 44, 48.
That's awesome. Why don't you introduce yourself? Say your name.
My name's Gavin Garcia.
Okay. Thank you, Gavin.
Good job, Gavin.
All right, and to end our presentation, we have 2 big numbers for you. Well, a comparative number and then a big number. Our number currently, our enrollment is at 212. Our new applications for choice application to our school for next year is at 108 already. So we are very impressed with our numbers. We had 140 for the entire summer last year. So already being at 108 is a huge increase in enrollment. And so just want to share that we're working hard to get the word out about our school. And then the final thing, ooh, you gonna hand these up? Hand that. Eden is gonna hand you something. What she is handing out is called the golden beads.
Can I get all of them, or can I share them with my friends?
Okay. Thank you. I get to keep one. You want to walk up and,
Here you go.
I don't think you have one for everyone.
Nope. She doesn't have one for everyone, and there's a special reason. All right. So we wanted you to be able to see, feel, and touch just like our students do. But if you were given a golden bead, could you hold those up for me?
The 10 bar.
Or the 10 bar, yes. Okay, there you go. So if you would add these up, students, you're gonna have to yell really loud. Those of you in the Montessori, help me out. What is this gonna equal if we have a 10 bar, 5 10 bars, and 100 square? Yep, we're at 100 and
50.
boom. Very nice. Happy anniversary.
Well, it takes a while to get to 150, so That's good.
Hey, can
Thank
come
you.
back?
Thank you, Eden.
Susan, thanks, Eden. Okay, we're at Q&A from the board for Angie in Buena Vista, if we want to pepper her with what's working and what she needs more for.
Okay, thank you. I'll start by saying this is one of the schools that I was assigned to visit this year. So I have visited the school multiple times out there. And honestly speaking, and I've shared this with the board, I did not know much about the Montessori program before entering your school and spending some time in your classrooms. And Principal Prochnow was patient and kind enough to walk me into your classrooms and engage with your students. And some wonderful things happening out there at the school. And I see great potential for growth there too, when what you're talking about. Yes. This is, it's a full choice in school. It doesn't have any boundaries. So, and you get considerable number of students from other districts that choice into you too, even though you are somehow centrally located. I know that parents drive from District 20 and across boundary lines to get it out there. So thank you. I see several of your staff members here too, and I want to recognize at least somebody. I know that Karen was sitting out here, and oh, she's up there now. Okay, because she is. Yeah, she is usually the first person I see when I walk into the school out there, as she is the administrative assistant out there. So, are there other staff members that are up here? If they stand up,
Yeah.
we can recognize them.
All of
The
the
staff
that's
members up here.
please stand up. And I think Miss Heidi walked out with the students because somebody's with them.
Okay, thank you. Board members, do you have any questions or comments? Director Bankus.
I also had the opportunity to visit your school last year and was so impressed, so welcoming, so entertaining to walk in and say, oh, I think my child would like to do this. Oh, and it's all sequential so that there is an opportunity for kids to grow and develop and feel secure about what they're doing. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other comments? Director Nelson.
I noticed when you were explaining what the children were doing, you mentioned that one child was at primary level. And so can you speak a little bit to that it's not necessarily grade specific? Is that correct? I don't know very much
Yes,
either.
thank you for asking that question. It should have been in one of the slides probably, but we have combined multi-age classrooms. And so in our primary, we have 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, and kindergarten all in the same classroom. And the teachers will navigate wherever the student is in their academic learning. And then our lower elementary would be 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And right now, our upper L is 4th and 5th. We'll talk more about that some other day.
Maybe you can talk about that,
That would
and
be
that's
good.
where I'm
Great.
going to
Yeah.
come to. What do you see the potential of expand? Did you finish your thoughts?
I was just going to ask what those class sizes look like,
Okay.
but maybe you were going to go there.
Yeah, so we do have multiple rooms of each of those multi-age classrooms. For example, in the lower L and the primary, they each have 4 different classrooms then, but they're all teaching multi-age classrooms because that's part of the experience. And then you have your leadership in the 3rd grade, kind of, especially in the beginning when they're going through that normalization process, really assists in teaching the processes, the procedures, showing the younger students how to do things. When you have a 3rd grader teaching a 1st grader on the first day of school, it's the best thing to observe.
Yeah.
I highly encourage watching at some
They
point.
say the best way to learn is to teach.
Yeah,
so
and then
it
they
just really
become
probably
more
cements it.
articulate. For some of the kids that were over here could definitely explain to all of you all the works in their room right now.
That's great. I'm finished. Thanks.
Thank you.
So where I was going with that thought is that there is a demand for this curriculum and this program in our community, and I don't think other school districts offer this. So what is the potential of expanding this program past the 5th grade? Are there any thoughts? Do you sense a community interest in your community, the parents itself, that they want to continue this over the upper levels?
Yeah, we actually have a very passionate involvement from our families, as you've seen. And so within the first week of school, that was already part of our conversations. As a new principal coming in, they were saying, what can we do for our 6th graders? We don't want to leave. We don't want to do other things. how can we make sure that they have an option that aligns to what they're currently working on, and how can we make that happen? And then per the board and superintendent urging of trying to really emphasize enrollment and academic success, we've really been focused on that. We did a bunch of work on our website and advertising to try to build that enrollment number, which is why I was so happy about where we are right now. Because I do think that there is a huge desire. In fact, one of the, and I'm going to paraphrase because I'm not quoting because I don't have it written down, but one of the best things I heard at our last BV 101 class, which is for our incoming potential families, is I walked up and asked a couple gentlemen who were talking, and I said, hey, did you find out everything you want to know? Can I answer any other questions? And he just said, we're just standing back here saying, what are the chances you're going to break our hearts because we really want to come here? So I think there is a huge market for what we're doing and how we're doing it. And even in the relation, and I'll try not to go too long, but even in how it relates to like the Eureka math curriculum, we're in training with other principals this morning, and someone that was sitting next to me can say, we literally looked at what we were looking on the paper, and I pulled up a picture of the beads and showed them how it applies that same way. And so I think, it's the manipulatives that everybody's wanting to get into other buildings and in other curriculums, they already exist here.
So we'll be bringing to the board some options as we continue using the AMP framework that we already have built upon from the previous AMP decisions. Where do we go with Buena Vista? And so I want to acknowledge, because he's quietly sitting in the corner over there, the visionary mind of Dr. Brandon Comfort as well has been very deep into this conversation. And we will have decision points as a district to understand how do we continue to provide this level of choice for families, and is it sustainable?
Okay, thank you. I really look forward to that conversation. This program, after visiting your school, is near and dear to my heart, and anything that we can do to expand this program and provide these opportunities for these kids, I'm all for it. I want to give a quick shout out to you did mention your strong community involvement, but I do want to give a quick shout out to Diana Starkus. Is that it? Did you mention her name by name?
Not by name.
Okay, so
She's our
she is
school
the
her picture was up here.
Yeah, she is the PTA president and your SAC chair. And the PTA, and you had a picture of it on your slides, they funded the reusable lunch trays in your school, a sustainable way to minimize waste in our school. And your kitchen manager, Ms. Tammy Burghardt, is it? She was also so appreciative of that. So thank you. And you said, the last question I had, you said your enrollment was at 212 right now?
Correct.
And you have 108 potential, so you could be close to 300 next year?
If we can accommodate all of the options, and we're getting creative about how we're using space and looking at how to move non-direct contact people into smaller spaces or combined spaces to make room for children.
We have
So-
some interesting space available too on the back lot, the oldest school in the district. You want to share that story a little bit, Angie?
Currently it's our art room, which Superintendent Gall would like to make an art studio, but I think we're going to have to use it for some other things because we need the space.
But we're
it is-
working with the team that right now half of that space is used for storage, because as you can see, this is a manipulative, heavy curriculum. And so we can come up with alternative ways to store items such that we can use conditioned spaces for teaching and learning. So we'll be bringing those to the board as well.
Yeah, and to add on to your reusable, I believe the PTA was going to vote on funding for the actual silverware now too.
Okay, great.
Silverware. So we got the trays, and now we're getting rid of the plastic silverware as well.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions from the board? Thank you. Thank you for all the students that were here. Thank you for the parents who drove the students here too. It's a wonderful program, and I'm glad that you are doing good things out there.
Thank you.
And carry that message to the rest of your teachers and staff out there. Thanks for all
Absolutely.
they're doing.
Thank you
I
for
look
all of
forward
your
to visiting
support.
the school again. I think you have a BV 101 tomorrow.
Tomorrow night?
Yeah?
Yep.
Good.
All right. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're not quite done with Buena Vista. Part of my superintendent's report are my GSD shout-outs for getting stuff done. So if I could get Miss Ingram, and then Eden and Dallas, and then Bailey and Riley to come on up to be able to give their shout outs from my desk. Thank you. Okay. You get to sit in the big chair there, Eden. You get to say what your name is and who it is you're shouting out.
My name is Eden, and I just want to say Miss Kaylee is awesome. She has a lot of Montessori materials that help us move. And she helps us. And she helps us.
Go ahead and say it.
Conflict resolution. And peace votes.
Well, that's a big word. So.
Like the peace votes.
Say it really loud so they can hear.
Can you do the peace votes with me? Okay. I didn't like it when you stole my pencil from my table. I was needed to get my work done with that. I'm sorry, but I was really in a rush. Next time you ask, we declare peace.
I'll bring it back tomorrow.
We're going to keep that. That's a new piece that we're keeping at the board.
Yes.
This is Miss Ingram. Go ahead, your turn. Please sit down.
Oh, all right. Good evening. My name is Marie Ingram. I'm the mother of 2 children who have had the great experience and privilege of attending Buena Vista Montessori. I am here to tell you about the lovely librarian, Miss Marnie. Her dedication to Buena Vista always goes above and beyond. The patience that this woman has is unbelievably remarkable. My father was correct in telling people that patience truly is a virtue. No matter how busy she is always willing to stop whatever she's doing to help, whether it's kids, parents, teachers, staff members, it doesn't matter. Miss Marnie is caring, kind, and an amazing, wonderful human being in general. I have had the sincere pleasure of being one of her library elves since 2019. The library elves was her creative way of getting some parents to volunteer a little of their time. My time in the library, I look forward to all week. It's amazing. Unfortunately, I wish I had more time to give you. Buena Vista is very fortunate to have such a devoted, passionate, dependable, and hardworking librarian, tech person, coding, teaching person as she is. She truly is amazing and awesome. That's it.
My name is Bailey Ingram. What I like about Miss Michelle is that she makes her class fun every day. We got to act and sing in our play Scrooge that she directed all by herself. On St. Patrick's Day every year, I look forward to the scavenger hunt she does. Miss Michelle makes class exciting, not boring. I love band. I have been playing saxophone for 2 years, and this year she helped me start to play trumpet too. Miss Michelle is the reason I like music so much. She is great. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Riley Ingram, and this is what I have to say about Miss Lachelle. Miss Lachelle is a great person and teacher. The last time I was in her class was about 3 or 4 years ago. I loved her music class, but always could not wait for her band class. In band, I played clarinet, which I still play in concert band to this day at Holmes Middle School. I also play baritone saxophone in jazz band, which is now my favorite class of the day. Miss Lachelle is the main reason I have such a strong passion for music, and I greatly appreciate her. Thank you, Miss Lachelle, for everything you have done for me. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dallas Garcia, and I'm here to thank Mr. Bakken for all the art he's taught us, and that his art is really beautiful, and that he teaches us a lot about art. He lets us make pottery out of clay, and he lets us paint and draw pictures. Thank you.
Thank you, Dallas. Hi, I'm Michael Gall, and I wish I went to Buena Vista. Okay, thank you. I'm going to keep moving along. If I could get Juliana and Willa to stand up in the audience here. From Steele Elementary School, Juliana and Willa were instrumental in reminding us that how we go through lunch is critical. I was visiting Steele Elementary School to see Ryan, the principal, and they ran out of the library when they saw the superintendent was in the building, and they presented me with their case study of why it is that we need either biodegradable trays in the lunchroom or a dishwasher with reusable trays. And so, first of all, I love student agency. They had their math, it was correct. I got Food Nutrition Services over there, and they did a cost-benefit analysis with the students and determined that the reusable trays and a dishwasher in the kitchen that did not have a dishwasher would be the right course of action. And so tonight we're excited to announce that the dishwasher is on order. It'll be here in 2 to 3 weeks, and I can't wait to go over and have lunch with these two fine young women at Steele Elementary School in February. So thank you for that. You gonna give me a shirt? New shirts. Thank you so much. All right. I have to wear that one. Okay, switching over. If folks paid attention to the town hall last week at Doherty High School, or if they were at the last board meeting, this is the Snow Day Committee and myself at Palmer High School. So we announced last week that we are going to forego remote learning for the remainder of this year. When it snows so much that it's not safe to go to school, we're going to stay at home. What was great about this opportunity with the students is again, student agency. With partnership, I'll read the students' names here: Paulo, Christian, Jada, Zoe, and Asling. And then the advisors, Kelly Klein and Julie Swankowski, along with other sponsors, Nathaniel Lohman, Keith Ferguson, and Ollie Eustace. They actually did the work. They didn't just complain about it. They put the survey together. They did the survey. They did the statistical analysis, and they came forward. And the bottom line was what we all already know: nothing beats high-quality face-to-face learning, and we're going to commit to that for the rest of this year. So, big shout out to the Palmer High School Snow Day Committee. As we were filling time earlier, these are our Doherty Spartans who fed us dinner and snacks this evening. I'll read the students' first names here: Nick, Emma, Wallet, Austin, Micah, Victoria, Zach, Danica, and Zoe. Mostly seniors, a couple of juniors, and a sophomore in that group. Supported by staff Chris Flurm and Stephanie Auger. And Stephanie, if you can come forward for a little bit, I'd love for you just in 30 seconds or less to explain the difference between ProStart and CTE in culinary arts at Doherty. Students, come on forward.
All right, I will do my best. So CTE is the Career Tech Education program that we offer at Doherty High School. And ProStart is actually a nationally recognized program. Compared to my other classes, my intro class, which is the first class you would take for our pathway, and then catering, which most of my catering students are here tonight. That is more of an entrepreneurship where they actually do all these different events like the one you saw tonight with the appetizers. They created it, they develop it, they do the costing for it. So they do everything for catering. But for ProStart, it is a nationally recognized program, and it is through the Restaurant Association and the National Restaurant Foundation. These students, these are students who really want to go into the industry and go to that higher level. So it's a great opportunity. There's so many opportunities in that program: scholarships, We do Serve Safe. So there's just so much to offer within that program. Also college credit, so that I offer to my students. So.
Okay, eat up all the snacks. Good.
Miss Bailey, we would like all their faces facing forward. I'm trying to get hand signals over here.
You want them to face us or that way?
That way.
That way, great.
Okay. Take a picture.
Take a picture. Get in there for a picture.
Yeah, oh, it's
Thank you. Yeah. And so one of the phrases you hear from our staff often is leaning in. And so when you look at that picture on the smart TVs up there, you'll notice how the students are leaning in. And that's just how excited they are about the opportunity. And if you haven't had a chance to eat the food out there, please go out there and eat it. Next, I want to thank our new partners in the American Heart Association. Yesterday, we kicked off an 8-week program with the American Heart Association for all of our staff to commit to a healthier life. And we will have a culminating event with the first ever district-wide for staff and community 5K run and walk on the 14th of April in North Monument Valley Park. So we are super excited for that and hope that you all will start taking as good care of yourselves as we are seeking to take for our children. More shout outs here to the high schools. I came in all hot and heavy today talking to the high schools and said, we're just a month from the end of choice window and we're down on enrollment in high schools. You need to all get together and make sure you have open houses before the 15th of February. And they raised their hand and said, we already are. So here are the dates for our open houses. I want to thank each of those leaders and particularly our comms department for putting these together. Those would be super exciting events. Remember, it's a choice on what school you go to, even if it's a school across the street. So make the right choice. The other thing we want to have a shout out for is it is Best of the Spring season, sponsored by the Gazette-Telegraph. We have over 30 nominees between educators, coaches, and schools, which I am told is the highest number we've had in many, many years. So you can find that information. We'll have it on social media for you to be able to go in there and vote for your favorite elementary, middle, high school, preschool educator or coach. There are just some really phenomenal schools, names, and programs that have been nominated, so we're super excited for that. And now I want to ask Velvet to come forward to talk about our family, school, and community partnerships. Velvet, it happened faster than you thought there, right? Yeah.
Lots of people here tonight. Good evening, board. I feel winded coming up here fast. I'm here tonight as part of the D11 Family School Community Partnership Collaborative. And as that collaborative, we support schools, but we also want to celebrate the FSCP work done at our schools. So Jennifer Schulte, Nancy Marshmallow, and myself, Velvet Stepanek, are part of the celebration subcommittee for that group. And we're here tonight to celebrate D11 schools. Okay, I haven't used this before. There we go. So first of all, I would define what is FSCP. I'm not going to read the definition. You can read it. This is a definition provided by the Colorado Department of Education for Family School Community Partnership. The key, I think, in this definition is active partnering. Research indicates that family, school, and community partnerships lead to improved student attendance, higher graduation rates, and a deeper sense of belonging. Just as a space launch relies on a team of people working together to plan and complete a mission, families, schools, and communities work together to launch student success. To give you some other background, the Colorado Department of Education has provided 4 essential elements for family, school, community partnerships. You can see them here: create an inclusive culture, build trusting relationships, design capacity building opportunities, and dedicate necessary resources. Every D11 school is working to provide opportunities for everyone to help launch student success. The D11 FSCP Collaborative wants to celebrate some of the bright spots in our district. And like a rocket launch, we all succeed when everyone has an opportunity to contribute and to succeed. So we're celebrating 2 schools this evening. Whoops, I think I went, did I? Oh, yeah, so I went here. We reached out to all of our schools and asked for bright spots of FSCP. Each month, I talked with Mr. Gall, and we're going to celebrate 2 schools who are working to launch student success. We hope you can see the work being done as it maps to those essential elements that I showed you earlier. So this month, we chose to highlight Rudy Elementary School from the Northeast area and Coronado High School from the West area. And maybe I'll go ahead and have them stand now because I know Rudy and Coronado were both here. And we can clap for him again as we go on. But okay, so first, our first bright spot is Rudy Elementary School. Rudy Elementary School is located on a picturesque hill on the eastern edge of D11. I live not that far from there. I love to walk by that school and look out. Family engagement is alive and well thanks to a strong and supportive community at Rudy Elementary. And fall family events build a solid partnership among families, neighbors, and staff. So first of all, community at Rudy is vital. Rudy Elementary has a dedicated PTA. Whoops, I'm sorry, I'm like doing something with the thing. I don't want to lose their picture. A dedicated PTA committed to family school community partnerships. They help provide opportunities for all families through family events. First of all, the Rudy Science Night. That is a bear that you see in the Rudy Gym. Yes, just imagine walking into the Rudy Gym for Science Night and being greeted by a growling bearskin, mouth open with a snarl. Families were also engaged with other interactive activities, dragon breath, electricity demonstrations, and worm growing stations. Next, to the Rudy In-N-Out Burger Party. The In-N-Out hamburger event was a huge hit on a crisp fall evening. The aroma of grilled hamburgers, served from an old-fashioned trailer diner was enjoyed throughout the Rudy community. The line moved quickly, and staff members visited with families and built relationships during the short wait time. Additionally, many Rudy neighbors joined the festivities. Finally, a fall skating party brought out not only students, but many family members to include parents, grandparents, and older and younger siblings. The night was chilly, but the atmosphere inside the skating rink was cozy and full of family interactions. The famous Skate City Pizza was enjoyed by many. Student success is taking off at Rudy Elementary as the family, staff, and community are working together. Next, we want to highlight Coronado High School, our second bright spot. Coronado High School is also located on a picturesque hill on the west side of D11. Coronado shared 3 examples with us of FSCP at their school to launch student success. First is the Coronado Parent Academy. Coronado introduced the Parent Academy to their community back in 2021 and then continued this year to offer 2 free workshops to help families stay engaged with their child's academic and social success by offering training, information, and personal assistance. The first Parent Academy in September looked at strategies and helpful school and community resources that family can utilize at home. Instruction was given on PowerSchool, Schoology, and even the Coronado website. In October, the second Academy discussed opportunities for students to get their foot in the door to land that awesome career by way of internships, job shadowing, work-based learning, and programs offered at Pikes Peak State College, Ascent, and the Pikes Peak Business Education Alliance. Next, the Coronado's Cougars Care. For 3 weeks in November, Coronado collects food and money for 2 purposes: the Thanksgiving food basket distribution for students and families, and to restock the shelves of the Cougars Care Pantry for those in need. This year, Cougars Care students, parents, community organizations, and Coronado staff prepared and distributed 130 Thanksgiving boxes full of canned goods, fresh fruit, vegetables, breads, pies, and a gift card to purchase a turkey. Also collected $15,000 in contributions, pledging challenges, and a care and share donations. Coronado has just become a permanent food distribution site for Care and Share to fulfill the needs of the West Side community, their students and the staff. Cougars Care will serve as the model to develop similar programs in other area schools. Their community needs, they said, our community needs us, and we answered. Finally, not finally, but whoops. Coronado community is vital. I wanted to read exactly what a Coronado staff shared, what they wrote. Engagement and connectivity are what set us apart. Coronado has an amazing network, support network with an active parent-teacher association and an influential and committed school accountability committee. Our PTA team of volunteers is a small, close-knit group that takes time from their work, family life, and personal time to make us feel appreciated and valued. From parents manning tables at fall check-in to hosting breakfasts, lunches, and holiday snacks for staff, planning and providing refreshments at dances, events, and student award ceremonies, staffing our Cougars Care Closet clothing exchange, assisting with hearing and vision checks, and offering student scholarships for seniors and a gift to the school each May, plus so much more. Our PTA volunteers keep us united and on task to offer our students the best possible education and be part of something big. Coronado's the place to be. So thank you to Coronado for supporting the mission of student success. So thank you. Why don't I have the Rudy and Coronado staff stand up again so we can celebrate them. So thank you to them for sharing their bright spots from their FSCP to launch student success. In addition to this presentation, we're going to present certificates in early February at both schools and celebrate with their staff, and also spotlight them in other ways like the DAC newsletter and some other things. We want to continue to share the bright spots from other schools every month at the board meeting, and we want to celebrate more schools. If you see a bright spot, please reach out to us so that we can celebrate you. All right, thank you.
Okay, and in closing, obviously families and communities are critical parts of our partnership for school success. One of our goals this year is to have a SAC in every school. As of yesterday, we were short 4 schools, but I just learned that Taylor has a new SAC chair, so excellent news for Taylor. But we still need one at Grant, Trailblazer, and Swigert. So if you are in that community or know someone in that community, please come join our team. We want your input. We want your partnership. We want to share you as a bright spot as well. And that concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you. And thank you for all the families. I see the 3 Coronado students behind there, part of the Coronado Cougars Care program, Coronado Care programs. So thank you. And I know the 2 ladies behind there from Rudy too. They do some awesome work, Miss Leek, and I forgot your name. So, but yeah, thank you for all the work that you guys do. Any thoughts or comments from the board? Seeing none, moving on. Thank you for sharing that report, Superintendent Call. So, public comments. So most of you know the board protocol by now. A quick reminder, each of you have 3 minutes for your comment. A clock will be displayed on the screen to help you through that. Monitor the clock, keep within 3 minutes. Please be respectful of our speakers and maintain the expected decorum in the boardroom. Communicate your thoughts in a professional manner. Personal attacks against employees or anyone else will not be tolerated. If you want to show support or solidarity to a speaker, please stand as the speaker is talking or use a silent applause. And lastly, the statement made by the public do not reflect the views of the board or the district. So with that, the first one I have, okay, these are organized as action first. Okay, Miss Brenda Holmes statue. And you are coming about bookless? This is, okay.
The books, yes.
Okay, this is a non-action item, so can I get back to you?
Absolutely.
Okay. I just want to make sure that I'm going with what is on here. Ms. Amanda Huber. Legislative agenda. That's an action item. Thank you.
I'm the legislative rep for Holmes Middle School. I was thrilled to see your continued support for the previous legislative agenda. Very excited to continue working with you all, and we hope to hear from your new legislative lobbyist and to inquire on the impact of upcoming legislative items on the district and its budget. And we'd like to just request that you continue working and towards that agenda that you guys are putting forward tonight. Thank you.
Do you want to introduce the young man who was standing next to you?
This is my son. He also goes to Holmes Middle School, and he follows me around to all the things, so most of the things. Unless you find one of the other ones with me, so it's just kind of interchangeable. So,
Thank you. Michael Williams.
Happy New Year, everybody. I'm commenting on action item F4, legislative agenda, which also slightly relates to non-action item G5. In bullet 1 and 2 under school support of the district resource reads, District 11 supports thorough and uniform set of free public education that adequately funds the social, emotional, and academic challenges of today's changing educational landscape, including the elimination of the BS factor, or the negative factor, aptly named, supporting legislation that increases the resources to adequately and equitably meet the needs of high risk and special needs and academically challenged students. I think most of the parents attending District 11 school can agree with those universally, and slightly contrary to President Mel Packham's earlier comment, I do applaud you all for having counselors at every elementary school, especially in the country, as the state of the country and the district have dealt with many mental health crises over the last year and a half. We can completely stand behind increase in equitable shared resources, eliminating the fittingly named BS factor, and supporting SEL with actions and resources. Something that many parents in the district that have kids attending schools have concerns about, as those ones have been addressed, is the way that the complaints, library and instructional resources. We're in a teacher and staff shortage currently, and I know the district has been working on that. We saw Mitchell's increase, which I'm grateful for as well. And there's community members with no kids attending district schools creating more work for current staff and manufacturing outrage over books, as you'll hear shortly. We just heard a parent from Buena Vista shout out Miss Marnie, a librarian, and the majority of us parents echo that sentiment with our librarians at our schools. We talked about this coming specifically because these community groups have been following national trends and bringing that book banning nonsense to District 11. How this relates to legislative actions is a legislative priority the district has is a local authority of school districts being proposed to legislate and being opposed to state legislation that usurps that authority. We can agree with that, but how is it okay for community members, many of which, again, don't have kids in District 11 schools, to attempt to remove books that our kids read and use to learn? There might be books I want my kids to read that another parent doesn't, and vice versa, but that doesn't give me the right to strip a parent's right to choose what books their parents read. As a parent, it is my responsibility to govern my kids and expose them or not expose them to things that they should have access to. My oldest daughter is in 5th grade and reads at an almost 8th grade level. There has not been a time in history where advocating for book bans, such as the Nazi-era Germany and apartheid South Africa, has turned out to the betterment of society. So let's not, as a district, get caught in the noise and follow that history. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Ms. Brenda Holmes-Stanchu. Sorry about that. I just had to call you under non-action.
I am a kindergarten teacher and love that I'm able to observe as the love of words develops in each child. I am sharing the ideas of myself and fellow D11 employee, Dr. Gibler or Dr. G. We wanted to thank you and those concerned for bringing awareness to literacy. While we believe the intentions behind book banning are wrong, what actually happens is more people read. Humans are known for doing things they are told not to do. So every time a book is considered for banning, more want to read it. Children read it, parents read it, and teens definitely read it. The books see a huge surge in purchases. Author G. Willow Wilson comments, honestly, I don't know why anyone bothers to censor books anymore. Haven't they learned? Attempting to censor books sends sales through the roof. When you tell people a book is too risque or dangerous to read, they will go out of their way to read that book because now it has the appeal of something forbidden. You cannot contain a story once it is out there. The best way to spread a message is through the word of mouth. Kids respect their friends' opinions over adults. They are curious and want to be perceived as with it and cool. Kids get books and pass them secretly in the halls. I was a good kid, but devoured Judy Blume books because it was hinted they contained certain hushed topics. Dr. G was a good kid and told not to listen to certain songs. Instead, she made copies and listened to them with friends in secret. Despite normally being rule followers, we both remember the things we did in secret more than many of the things we did at school. We know that the books trying to be banned will be the ones the kids search out and hold on to into their memories. Banned books have included the Harry Potter series, Alice in Wonderland, A Wrinkle in Time, Junie B. Jones, Captain Underpants, and ridiculously, the children's book Tango Makes Three. It's a true story of two male penguins in a New York City Central Park Zoo that build a nest, hatched an abandoned egg together, which has been deemed anti-family with its two fathers. As literacy teachers who understand the importance of inclusivity and diversity in all books, thank you for raising awareness through these discussions. We are sure children will be enticed to get their hands on some great books. They will pass them on to their friends. They will learn and grow and be encouraged to develop an even deeper love of learning, even if it is through an act of defiance. Censorship is the child of fear and the father of ignorance. Every burned book enlightens the world, Ralph Waldo Emerson. And as Stephen King is quoted, don't get mad, get even. Don't spend time waving signs or carrying petitions around the neighborhood. Instead, run, don't walk to the nearest non-school library or to the local bookstore and get whatever it was that they banned. Read whatever they're trying to keep out of your eyes and your brain, because that's exactly what you need to know. Thank you.
Thank you. Miss Amanda Huber.
Well, now I don't know where he went, so. To start tonight, I would like to read a short passage from one of the most banned books of all time. Whenever you pray, don't be like the hypocrites who always love to pray publicly on the street corners and in the synagogues so everyone can see them. Truly, I tell you, they have already had their only reward. But whenever you pray, go away by yourself, shut the door behind you, and pray to your Father in secret. Matthew 6, verses 5 through 7. I think it's very important that you all learn to trust in the policies and the committees behind them. And I really hope that you guys get behind and support the process that has taken a long time for people to come and develop, and trust that the people that are in these buildings are not out to indoctrinate your kids. They're not out to hurt you. And I would just love to see everyone come together in unity and put some support behind the policies that work. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Michelle Warwick.
Good evening. I'm Michelle Warwick. I have 3 children in District 11. I wanted to talk tonight about Family School Partnership Toolkit notes that I had made when I was asked to be the fit coach for Adams Elementary. The reason why I wanted to talk about this is because I think that these 2 standards that I'm going to highlight go along with improving the school and the outcome of the students which Adams is currently under a turnaround status. The 2 standards that I'd like to highlight are Standard 2 and Standard 3 in the Family School Partnership Toolkit, and they talk about the importance of assigning homework and the benefits that come with assigning homework. Standard 2 is communicating effectively, motivating parent involvement. When school staff makes an effort to communicate with and reach out to families, students score higher on tests. A research review by Harvard Family Research Project found that the following approaches pay off: accommodating parents' English skills as needed, communicating with even those families who do not attend meetings, encouraging parent input and ideas, and assigning homework that calls for parent-student interaction. Standard 3 is supporting student success, and tips for success our interactive homework can build students' confidence by prompting them to share their work and ideas with family members. When parents and children are encouraged to talk regularly about schoolwork, parents learn more about what is happening in class. Interactive homework also facilitates communication between parents and teachers about children's work, progress, or problems. Studies from a program called Teachers Involve Parents in Schoolwork, also known as TIPS, in which teachers design weekly homework that calls for children to talk to someone at home about the tasks assigned, have found that students' writing skills, grades, and test scores improve with the program. Parents talk with and support their children, but do not teach or do the assignments. I strongly believe that assigning homework helps students retain information, get extra practice, and review what is being taught in the classroom. Gets parents involved in academics and helps students learn responsibility by holding them accountable for completing and turning in their homework. I think that homework should be assigned, and it would help the students and help the school as a whole, and help hopefully get the school out of the turnaround status. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Josephine Lopez.
Well, good evening. My message is a very simple one. I am here to thank you. And it's sort of like a Jimmy Fallon segment where he's thanking, the thank you cards. That's what I'm doing. One of the most important jobs of any school board has been to set academic goals and raise student achievement. I am not sure how we as a society have strayed so far from this goal. So I applaud you for making that your number one priority. My husband would add that students need to be taught fact-based history as well as American government and critical thinking skills. I applaud you for working tirelessly to take a struggling school district and pointing it in such a positive direction. You list community engagement as your number 2 priority, and this is an excellent strategy because if you don't have parent and community buy-in, it is difficult to achieve number 1. I know because I taught in this district 20 years, including the Buena Vista Montessori School, which is a permit school, and those parents already have buy-in, but not all schools do. I also grew up in District 11, raised my kids in this district, and live in the district. I have witnessed for years the struggles of keeping the district fiscally sound, keeping scores up, facing declining enrollments, and modernizing old buildings. I feel like I am beginning to witness a renewal in the district. New projects, new programs, new pathways, exciting after-school classes, tutors, a new superintendent. I know there is still a long way to go. I know it takes time to turn things around. But thank you for bucking unhelpful, divisive trends that are all the rage right now. I know you have been vilified at some of these meetings by certain parents, students, and teachers. These trends don't raise academic achievement. In fact, they are divisive, anti-science, anti-history, and confusing to students. Students feeling self-doubt, anger, and guilt will not be able to learn well. What is required is that the insistence that students display decency, civility, and kindness to their classmates. Stand up to bullies. Any singling out of others for their differences should be met with swift punishment. So, thank you for sticking with your promise and commitment to excellence in our schools.
Thank you. Ms. Rebecca Kelty.
Hi there, Board. Charter schools offer parents options in education for their children, period. My own son went to a charter school for a short period of time as it gave him a smaller class environment, that he needed and offered closer to a one-on-one type of learning style that some kids require. I decided that. You see, what my child learns is my decision. As a teacher and the school is a resource for my child to learn through. However, that resource, if that resource is not useful in the realm of learning of what I have decided, what I have deemed best, then I want other options. Charter schools provide those other options. In the end, it isn't up to the board, teachers, and especially teachers' union that decide my child's education. It is the parents. We elect representatives like you to listen to us off our decisions. You then find what is best with the options we give you. That is your lane. Parents do what's right for their children. That is their lane. The fact that Darlene has publicly condemned charter schools with zero regard for a child's individual educational needs shows she wants to take power of choice away from the actual parents. Let me say this clearly for you. Your job on this board is to do what's best for the child and support parents' decisions in their children's educational track. You need to understand a teacher trains how to best teach, how to get the lesson understood, but what a child is taught is up to the parents. And if the parents don't like it, then they need options to change the teaching environment, and that means something like a charter school. Don't like parents having a say in their child's education? Then step down so someone better qualified to do the job can step up. Mama bears are waking up to what ridiculous agendas, like Darlene, are pushing, and let me tell you, it will not end well. Charter schools should be an option for parents to choose from for their children's education.
Ma'am.
It's what they want. Don't like
If
it?
you-
We parents
ma'am,
don't
ma'am.
care. Yes?
You can comment, but without mentioning board director's name.
Oh, don't
Is
say
that
the
okay?
names.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Finish your thoughts.
Sure. Your personal opinion for for our children doesn't matter. Know your lane. Having charter schools in D11 is a value add. If having positive productive options in our children's education isn't your goal, you know where the door is. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Stacy Adair. Just as a reminder, we do not want any personal attacks against employees or the board either. So let's, individual board members. So let's keep it professional up here. Thank you.
Good evening, board. You know, isn't it funny how people see things differently? We may be divided on many issues in this world, but the one thing that I believe that unites us all is doing what's best for kids. Our district has suffered in recent years, as have most. However, we are now moving in the right direction. It may be too quick for some and too slow for others, but I think that everyone watching sees us going in the direction that will benefit the kids. I care about the kids, that's why I teach in D11. My friends care about the kids. The community cares about the kids. If kids do not get a good education, they are more likely to end up in prison and suffer ill effects and even death. I remember the tragic shooting a few years ago where Officer Micah Flick was murdered. There was also a 19-year-old caught up in the car theft ring that was shot and killed. He had been a D11 student and had been in my friend's 5th grade class at one time. That shook me up a lot. I keep that story in the back of my mind as I interact with students every day. Part of what I do as a teacher is convincing kids that they are worth the hard work that they themselves need to put in. Today I am here to say that we need to put politics aside and do what's best for our students by doing what's best for our district. I would like to see our board work together to do what's best for students, not what's best for the union. A National Teachers Union president has said, "We will represent students when students start paying dues." Well, at $79 a month, I don't think my Title I students can afford to be represented by the teachers union. So the only representation they have is the school board, the 7 of you. Today, I'd like to ask that you don't consider the teachers union when making decisions affecting students in D11. What are those decisions currently? One is supporting charter schools. D11 has not accepted a new charter school in 15 years. Why do charters scare the union? Honestly, I don't know. I don't believe that it is political because a neighboring, mainly liberal school district has accepted a James Irwin charter transfer with open arms. It seems like a liberal board that doesn't have to appease a teachers' union supports charter schools openly. They seem to understand that charters help minority students succeed. James Irwin doesn't have an achievement gap. Where's the equity and diversity process in regarding diversity of thought and diversity of opportunity for our most at-risk students? Another decision our board needs to make is signing Mr. Gall on for a period long enough so that he can continue to make and sustain change. Everything he's accomplished in the short time he's been here has already improved our district and therefore improved the lives of the students who attend here. As I tell students, let's all remember how you treat others says more about you than it does about the person you are mistreating. At the recent work session, it was kind of embarrassing. I ask that motivations be assessed. Let's all get on the same page and stop making this political and divisive. The kids have only one childhood. May we honor and be a good example to the kids by putting them first.
Thank you. Jennifer Mata.
Good evening, board. Thank you for seeing me. I am a resident of District 11, as well as my parents are residents of District 11, as well as my in-laws are residents of District 11. I have two beautiful children, ages 8 and 10. They are in 2nd and in 4th grade. And in the last 3 years, they have been attending a school within the District 11 zone. They have learned amazing things. My 2nd grader can actually cite the entire preamble to the Constitution. Very impressive for that age, in my opinion. My older son is excelling. He is now actually in a year ahead in math. In state testing last year, he tested in the 90th percentile in both reading, math, and science. He's doing excellent. They are thriving. That being said, the school that they attend within District 11 is not a District 11 school. They go to James Irwin Charter Academy, and as a resident of District 11, and as both of their grandparents are residents of District 11, all of the mill levy taxes that we pay don't go to the school that they attend. So everything that we're contributing, my children are not benefiting from, even though they're benefiting greatly from this school that is in District 11. So I simply request that you guys would consider, accepting James Irwin Charter School, the academy, which is right over on Howard and Palmer Park, into District 11, as it has been a huge benefit for us personally and our family. And we've been in District 11. My mother went to Doherty in 1950. So if you would just take that into consideration, we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Rebecca Kenterdine.
Good evening, President Malpacum, Board, and Superintendent Gall. As it is approaching the end of Mr. Gall's first year, I wanted to encourage the Board to offer Mr. Gall a long-term contract. First, Board, you hired a great superintendent, an outside-of-the-box thinker who is solution-oriented. Second, we have the opportunity of a lifetime to sign a contract with someone who could arguably be the best possible superintendent for, unfortunately, one of the lowest performing districts in the state. The last time I referenced the information, D11 was 158 out of 178 on performance, indicating that our district has a lot more work on their hands to complete. Observing the work that goes on behind the scenes during D11 Board of Education work sessions can be a very challenging task, not only for the board, but also the superintendent. The superintendent was given the task by the board to increase enrollment and also increase and maintain academic performance for all students. Superintendent Gall has a team of area superintendents and other staff that have been working very diligently to make sure all principals in our schools have all the tools and materials they need to help in their quest to increase test scores and also enrollment. Training is being provided to all staff within the district, and also substitutes can attend. I myself have attended. Superintendent Gall has been working very hard to reach out to our community. He has scheduled town hall meetings that have been very successful up to date. I believe these meetings have been very valuable for the superintendent and the district, where feedback is received from the community by the superintendent. You could not pay me enough to do this job. Superintendent Gall wears many hats that makes him a strong and creative thinker that helps him complete all the tasks set before him. I hope that the superintendent's contract will be renewed so that the great work being done across the district together with admin will be continued. Although from attending work sessions, I have observed that for some, excellence doesn't seem to be enough. Yet people, community members, parents, and staff do see what we should take the opportunity to sign Mr. Gall to a contract as soon as possible. And personally, I believe it should be a 10-year contract, but I will settle for 4 years. He believes and repeatedly shows that education is about kids, and that's why we are all here, isn't it? As a retired teacher, I have seen a lot of people come and go, and this one is worth keeping. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Jeanette McCormick.
Good evening, Board. I'm a supportive parent of James Irwin Charter Academy. My son started in kindergarten there. He's currently in 5th grade and thriving. My experience with James Irwin has been positive. I love the culture, the accountability that teachers and students have, as well as the style of teaching. Excuse me. I love that they teach cursive first and help develop their character as well. The reason why I am here before you today is that I'm asking for the mill levy override funds to be shared and dispersed accordingly to support JICA. As a taxpayer of D11, I believe that I am well within my right to request these funds to go to public charter schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Joel Sorensen.
Good evening, Board. My name is Joel Sorensen. I'm a D11 resident. Just wanted to thank you for considering bringing James Irwin Charter School into the district. This will be an immense benefit to D11. Having seen James Irwin in action, it's simply incredible. I had the opportunity to tour there a few months ago and see what it was like, and it's unlike any classroom experience I've ever seen. Truly unbelievable. They employ an incredibly effective, tried and true method of teaching called direct instruction. And I think that considering this school just is another way to give parents in the district another option. I think that what we've seen throughout this entire semester is the power of each unique school in the district, and I think James Irwin would be an incredible addition to that. So thank you so much for considering it. I think that it's been after watching the last week's work session, and I think it's probably going to be too difficult a process. Unfortunately, but I think that it will be well worth it on the other side when you guys go through with it, and I truly hope that you do. Perhaps it'll be helpful if you bring the rows to the next session, just an idea. But thank you so much for your courage and for doing this, which hasn't been done, I believe, in over a decade. So thank you so much.
Thank you. So that's all I have with people that have signed up for public comments. Thank you for sharing your thoughts and comments. The board appreciates hearing from each of you. Your feedback helps us do our work better. And if you checked the box indicating if you want a district admin to contact you, somebody from the administration will follow up and contact you. Moving on, board member reports. And anybody that wants to go first, board member reports. Director Nelson, you're first.
I just wanted to speak to the extension of the contract of our current leadership briefly. And I did not collaborate with Dr. Milpackham. He shared some similar thoughts, and we did not talk, so I promise. The board has one employee who is in charge of overseeing the operations of District 11. We take very seriously our role to govern the district, giving guidance to the superintendent and holding him accountable to improving academic outcomes, supporting staff, fostering a culture of trust and transparency with parents or guardians and community members, and strategizing a vision for District 11's future. It is clear that in the short time Mr. Gall has been here, he is fully capable of accomplishing the tasks set before him and has embraced the challenges within the district with a problem-solving mindset that has already made great improvements to our operations. He has shifted the culture to encourage supporting and resourcing schools, requesting that we all lean in, empowering schools. Previously, District 11 was one of the last to post open positions for the following school year due to constraints within operations. He collaborated with the relevant parties to adjust timelines so that now we will be one of the first in the community to post. This will allow a wider pool of candidates and more time to fill positions. I'll just throw out a couple more things. He's increased our pre-K offerings to families. He has started creating community partnerships with United Way, Pikes Peak State College, now American Heart Association. These are just a few examples of positive change Mr. Gall has implemented over the last 6 months. I'm just trying to keep it brief, keep my comments brief, because I also want to speak to an item that we have under non-action and following today's meeting. It's the mid-year budget. You will see a reference to $31,431,050 designated for the school year 23-24. And this comes from the fund balance that was built up over the last several years. We approved the plan to utilize these funds back in October 12th. So if you would like to refer back for more details, that's where you can go find the information. It's been a while, so with this being such a large sum of money, I just wanted to highlight a few of those big ticket items of why we're reaching that total. Over $11 million will go towards improving safety in our schools by modifying visitor entryways. Over $8 million that we already are setting aside for one-time staff bonuses for next school year. We are prioritizing taking care of our employees. We're already looking to the future. $2 million will go towards updating track, field, and lighting at Mitchell High School. Coronado and Doherty have already been slated for an update, and we're working on a plan for Palmer. Their field is unique. $4 million will go towards IT, updating fiber across the district. Over $2 million will go towards expanding our after-school enrichment programs, specifically focusing on the 17 priority improvement schools. And over $1 million will go towards updating updating the piping for the water at Chipeta Elementary School. And $900,000 was slotted for this school year, going towards an unfunded mandate that came down where we had to do some changes to our water system. So there are other equally valuable items in this list, but these are the most expensive. So I just wanted to highlight that large sum of money you'll see being discussed later in non-action. So lastly, I wanted to share that last week the board reviewed the district's financial status over the next 5 years due to declining enrollment. If you're curious to learn more on this topic, it was the last item on that agenda, so it will be towards the end of the recording, but just wanted to, I don't know how many people actually watch work sessions, but announce that that would be a good place to go back if you're wanting to learn more about the district's financial status and our outlook over the next 5 years and how we're trying to improve things and turn it around. So thanks. Happy New Year.
Thank you. I'm watching as you are talking, Director Nelson. It's a big operation out there for the students to come and serve the board. I see people carrying stuff. Ms. Stephanie Yeager is still carrying all the stuff, and it's like 45 minutes or an hour. So dismantling, assembling all that thing, a lot of thought went into it, I think. So, and thanks for Tom Copley. I saw Principal Copley helping out transport all those things. Just wanted to give a big shout out. And thank you for talking about Superintendent Gall. I think what the students, all his accomplishments, it starts and ends with snow days are back. So that's all that matters. So, Director Daniels.
Thank you. So I wanted to acknowledge Mr. Dwayne Robeson and Melissa Smith with our Career and Technical Education Department. They had a great meeting at Mitchell last night for post-secondary education. It was very informative. We had the University of Northern Colorado, we had UCCS, we had Pikes Peak State College. They all presented how a student can have their first year of college paid for with just getting 9 credits in their, I think, junior, senior year or throughout their 4th years of high school. It was pretty amazing, plus the Ascent program. Let me just see. I just want to read this to you because this, for me, was like the hard work that the department has been putting into place, and it was a part of the Coronado's presentation tonight. So they're offering the Pikes Peak Business Education Alliance. They have been having Zoom meetings about how to get work shadow, internships, all kinds of programs for students who are really looking for those opportunities. Melissa Smith is available to help your student get shadowing opportunities to even discover if it's a career that they would like to be in. If we can get them ahead of the game to know for sure if it's something they want or don't want, we want that opportunity. I just wanted to acknowledge that there are going to be additional meetings this year that I think if we can get more parents and community members out there and hear what we're offering, because the hard work that has happened, I think D11 is leading the charge with our CTEs, everything that's offered, the opportunities that are out there. Last night, they also assisted families with the FAFSA. I cannot remember his name. He was from the University, I think, of UCCS, who spoke English and Spanish, by the way. Every single person who represented those colleges were bilingual, which was amazing. And at the same token, he taught me how to say FAFSA. It's not FAFSA. We've been saying it wrong, but I thought that was important here. But I want to make sure that the community knows, check your emails. We're sending these out regularly for the meetings that are taking place, and there are a lot of students who are looking for opportunities, and I think Superintendent Gall mentioned something about a lot of them don't know. I don't know what that is. We're going to figure it out, but we really need to make sure the high schoolers especially are knowing what's happening for those opportunities. So make sure you are at Palmer January 31st, or they're also going to have ASL interpretation. Doherty is February 23rd, as well as Roy J. Watson March 7th. Please look out for those emails and making sure that our students are even going to their counselors and asking, how do I get involved? How do I know what's going on? So that they will not just think the credits are just to please the parents, right? And think that they're just doing it to make their parents happy, but it's not really tending to what they desire. So I just wanted to encourage you because it was amazing to just learn about that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Director Daniels. And if I remember right, there are 2 more meetings, one at Palmer and one at Doherty. And I've got a slide with the dates. When I come to my report, I can share. Yep, okay. Director Bankus.
In addition to all of the favorable comments that we've given to our superintendent, all of which I fully support because he has moved this district forward, I also want to thank him and my colleagues for spotlighting so many wonderful things that are happening in our schools. My children went to Doherty. I didn't know they had such a fine catering service, or the Pro Start. These spotlights and our board meetings allows all of us to find out what's going on in other schools in a way that brings kids forward. And for them to be able to sit in the seat of the superintendent and say their name and say a few words really does boost them up, because that's what we're about. Growing independent, resilient students who have skills and knowledge that they can carry on. I want to also thank Brenda McKinney and her team for the educational support conference that we attended last week, whenever it was. It was delightful. I never saw so many happy faces. The ballroom for lunch was filled door to door, wall to wall, very well attended, very well on an upbeat as I chatted with teachers, teachers' aides, and chatted with bus drivers and whoever else was in that group that I didn't find out what their job was. It was upbeat, it was happy. You can see on the screen that the theme was pirates, and you can see that some of our employees took that to heart, and I met one of those people, I won't tell you which one, later in the week, and said, "Oh, hi, Sandra. Yeah, we met the other day at the conference." And I said, "I'm not sure." He said, he said, "Well, I was in costume." And so he was right. I didn't recognize him. They really went, and I don't see, and if you look on the far left, see the parrot person? She won first place. There was a hard choice for all of them. So thank you, Brenda, and all of your team. It was delightful. I also want to call out McCullough Elementary, who had their STEAM night last night. Thank you so much for inviting the board. Thank you for the opportunity to interact with your kids and your staff, who are able to provide our students with wonderful opportunities on hands-on. The planetarium was a real success. The Air Force Academy chemistry demonstration was a very good success. And it gives kids an opportunity and a way to enjoy knowledge without being held accountable for it. And it's fun. And it's what we're about, engaging families, engaging our kids. And then I would be remiss if I didn't highlight this morning, our athletic director, Chris Knoll, sent out a news email to us, and I attended, and I want to point out Scott Mendelsberg for coordinating that. What happened was 100 of our students from all the 4 comprehensive high schools joined together, special ed students and athletes, put them together to go bowling this morning for an hour and a half. What a wonderful opportunity for all of us. And again, I want to thank the direction in which this board is going in highlighting the successes that we find in our schools. And you're right, it's not all about scores. It's about the whole child. It's about who we want to live in our community, because we live in our community. The last thing I'm not sure I want to mention, but I think I should. We had a couple of comments about banned books. I don't know where that's coming from. This board, as you well all know, because we meet for hours, we don't meet behind closed doors. We meet out in front of all of you, and that's what transparency is all about. We have not talked about banned books. We have not talked about anything remotely concerning with banned books. So for clarity and for transparency, anything that comes up about materials in the schools, you're going to be a part of that if that's an interest to you. So I thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Director Loma, I'm going to come to you in a minute. But thank you for spotlighting the ESP conference. Director Bankus, I was there, Director Art was there, Superintendent Gall got to address the group out there. It was good to see our employees kick off the second semester in an environment where different ESPs from different buildings could all collectively come together, enjoy that experience. And it was also a professional development opportunity for them. They provided opportunities where they can get further credits and progress in their career. And they had a great keynote speaker. So thank you for pointing out Brenda McKinney and Kevin Cook out there. Thank you for putting that together. Director Loma.
I want to kind of mention and jump on what Director Lauren, what you brought up in there. But she had a lot of facts. She's the treasurer, so she could know all the numbers and everything. So, but we had a negative where we did not have enough employees to do the work we were charged to do. We were short teachers. We were short janitors, short ESP personnel, I mean, across the whole district, and that's the negative. But the positive I was looking at, the positive is we budgeted a lot of money for those people. And I see it's in there, so I just want to let you know that as we go into negotiations, I want to do my best, and I think this board, we're probably in agreement, maybe I'm speaking ahead, but we know that you guys did the work, and we want to reward you somehow, some way. And so why? Because you did the work, short-staffed. You were asked to work hours, and some of you didn't even get paid for it. I've heard it, but you have pride in your work, but it's not gonna go unrecognized. So I'm just glad that I'm on a board that would think like that. Speaking of the board, I left our last week's meeting late, and I noticed there was some decorum that went bad. But I just want to say I know that's an aberration. As this board, we want to work cooperatively with each other, and if we have disagreements, we should be able to disagree. Back there you won't hear us. We'll yell and scream, pull our hair. But here on the dais, we want to try to act as professionally as possible, not only here, but during work sessions. And I think that we're heading there. As one who's been attacked, it's like sport. I don't take nothing personal. We're all passionate and we care about what we care about, and I respect that. And I appreciate differences of opinion, because maybe your opinion might change mine. I don't know, if it's better. So I just appreciate us wanting to do that. I noticed in the public comments that people were concerned with the parents' right, and we have to come to a point where we understand that we are servicing the parents. We're here to provide a service for the parents, and those children belong to those parents, and they have certain rights, and we recognize it. I recognize that, but thank you for reminding us all. I want to let all the schools know we're all given schools, and we all are charged to visit them and see how things are going. And my habit, I never go before Christmas, because you're opening up, and no matter how nice you are, you say we're not a bother. We're a bother, and I don't want to go there. And so I wait till after the holidays, but I'm going to warn you now. Here I come. Dun, 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 dun. I'll be visiting my schools, and just not to look for anything bad. I just to say hi, really. And if you have coffee, I love coffee. Amen. So just a warning. I'll begin my pilgrimage very soon. And one last thing. Over the holidays we had that tragedy with Damar Hamlin. I think the whole country was just shocking, the athlete, and he's a stallion. It's not a out of weight fat old man like me. He's a stallion, right? And he collapsed. And but what I was really moved by was the entire country came together. They weren't concerned with political views, or left, right, up, down, and they all came together. Even on ESPN, they were praying for this guy, and I go, why can't we just all get along? And why does it take that type of a tragedy to make us realize, the most important thing is not what we're doing, it's life and death. Those are the most important things. This we do, okay, we do, but these are not the most important things. And when death, because he ultimately died on the field and was resurrected, when death hits us, we tend to put things into perspective. And I say that because in 2010, I was on my deathbed. They told me I was going to die. They said I had an 80% chance of dying. And I was on the school board. And I don't know if those of you who were around remember I was gone for a little bit. I lost 100 pounds in 40 days. I was a fat Native American Mexican, and I came out a skinny toothpick Native American Mexican. I was like 139 pounds, But I was on the board. I remained on the board. I missed a lot of meetings, came back. But death puts things into perspective. And as I get older and older, there are certain things that are more important than us fighting with each other. So I just pray and I hope that we all work towards the same goal, that's improving our children's lives, because they're going to improve the future of our country and of our nation, the world. Amen? Well, that's all I got.
Thank you, Director Loma. I second some of your comments out there. So, yeah, peace and harmony. Okay. Any other? What is that?
I'm sorry, I was talking about.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there you go. Any other board member reports? And if not, I'll finish it up. I've already talked about the ESP conference. I just want to take a couple of minutes to talk about the Coronado robotics team. The Cougars Gone Wired, that's what they call. This past Saturday was the kickoff for the first robotics competition season. The game and the rules were revealed to over 3,000 teams from all over the world. And to see those students in that auditorium getting excited for the robotics students, all geeked out and excited about this thing, I guess I'm going to stand on my soapbox sometimes and say, like, often in this society, whether it's high school or college or professionally, we celebrate athletes and support them with hundreds and millions of dollars. I don't have anything against it, but I would rather, see that go to our students like these and our teachers. Spending millions of dollars hasn't helped the Denver Broncos out there. So, but we take for granted the students and the teachers who are excelling in academics in programs such as this robotics or arts and music. So I was glad that the community there got together to support these students. These students are incredibly dedicated, but it's not just the students. There is a whole complete community supporting them behind the students, starting with the teacher who's talking up there, who's Bryce McLean. And he is being the glue that's critical in starting this program and keeping this program. I think he single-handedly has increased enrollment in Coronado, and he deserves more than an accolade from the board dais and a pat on the back. And then there are a whole bunch of mentors that coach these students up and help them build those robots. These are the engineers, programmers, and volunteers, including Director Hart's husband, who is part of the mentor out there. And then there are the moms and all the other support structure who tirelessly prepare dinners and fundraisers for these students. And the students themselves, there are some students who are the chief financial officer and vice president of outreach and marketing. So students learn all various different skills other than just building robots out there. So it was exciting to see these students out there. And for the next couple of months, they are going to be spending Monday to Friday, 5 to 9 o'clock every single day out there after school, building these robots up, and then come back on Saturday and have a whole day of bringing. And the Palmer students were also out there helping these students, so it was good to watch the Palmer students and Sean Vibrant and the Palmer community coming and helping them. Palmer students are going to build a virtual reality field for them so they can envision what the field is going to look like, that Coronado robotics competition field is going to look like. And I learned a new word at the time, and that's cooperation, okay? And these are students that even when they are competing in competitions and one team wins and moves on, they cooperate with each other during competition. So students are tagging on this, what Director Loma said, students are being role models, cooperating with each other in competition. And if they can set aside their differences, even in the heat of the competition, we as adults can certainly do that for better outcome for our students. And then during one of the presentation, one of the speakers shared how politics divides the world, and these students through technology are uniting the world. So if you have some time in the evening, these students are working out there. I encouraged the board members or any day of the week, stop by between 5 and 8 o'clock and watch these students build these robots, and I wish them the very best as they proceed in the competition and their trials and all those things that are happening pretty soon. So, and then I'm going to end with a couple of stories I want to share. The students, I'll provide some context. The students that come into our schools have varied needs. Okay, meeting every student where they are in their K-12 educational journey and providing that opportunity to thrive and excel is something we emphasize collectively as a board in all our decisions that we make. And that is the expectations we put forth to the superintendent and their staff to ensure right from the beginning of the day, when the student is picked up in the morning till the time the student is returned back to their homes, that they are cared for, that their day is engaging, exciting, and filled with interesting and stimulating learning opportunity. That falls on our staff day in and day out. They are the ones doing the work, rinsing and repeating, so to speak, every single day, but they make it personal for every child. So there is a touch point for every child. So I bring this up because yesterday, without mentioning name, a parent reached out to the board and Superintendent Gall, and they talked about how the parent has a special needs child and the transportation needs of the child was being changed by the district. Instead of riding the school bus in the morning, the student was being transported by the so-called Uber transportation system that the school district now has, which is ever-driven. The parent was concerned, rightfully so, that her young child was being picked up and being dropped off, whether that is happening at the right location, that all the safety measures were being taken. It is a new driver that is picking up the child, and it's a young child who's got special needs already. So if the child's morning does not start off right, then that entire day for the child is affected in the school. So this email came from the parent yesterday detailing all the concerns. And this is where I want to give a shout out to our transportation team out there. Our transportation director, who is CJ McCampbell, who is the seated gentleman in the black blazer out there with the D11 thing. He reached out and his team reached out this morning, and they were there on the scene meeting with the driver who was transporting the child, checked and ensured all the safety precautions were being taken. So the parent reached out to me. I had a conversation with the parent, and she was so thankful that the district responded so quickly to that parent's need, and the student's need was being met. That is student need. That is not what my daughter wants, but it's a specific need this parent wants. And by providing this need, that child's day is going to go well the rest of the day. He can have a learning opportunity in the school. And the parent was professional, and she was agitated, but the way she talked to me was professional, handled it. I complimented her on how thoughtful she was. So the entire team out there works tirelessly. Some of them are team leaders, but they are out there driving buses every day because we have a bus driver staffing shortage. So want to thank this team for responding to this parent's need, and Superintendent Gall to responding back to this parent. So thank you for the team putting those things together. They are not perfect. I'm going to say that. They are human. They make mistakes, but they are always watching out for every student, making the time they spend in D11 very productive. So every student that is riding our transportation system is known and cared for. I want to share that with the other story I wanted to share about was the family that is out to the right of the screen out there. And Ms. Amanda Huber, if she is up here, she, a couple of months back when I visited Coronado High School, she introduced me. She dragged me from where I was, and she said that you need to talk to this family. And I spent about 30 minutes talking to Mr. Jose out there and his family. And he is from Mexico. He's been here in this country. His wife was standing next to him talking to me for all that 30 minutes, but his wife doesn't speak English. So he was talking to me all the time, and he spoke perfect English. And he and I communicated for 30 minutes out there, and he shared his vision, hopes, and dreams for his 3 kids who are in the picture. And as I was listening more and more to him, I'm separated from him. I grew up in India, 10,000 miles away. His vision, hopes, and aspirations for his family are no different than my visions and hopes and dreams for my family. All he was talking about is that he wants a bright future for his kid. He wants excellent education for them. He is trying to get them to work hard, make sure that they are stressing the right priorities, setting high expectations for himself. So the conversation touched me in so many levels, but he also talked to me about how when he visits our schools, sometimes his wife feels excluded from the schools because she cannot speak English. And he talked about translators and the need for translators in our schools, and how that he has talked to in prior presentations that have happened in districts, including the equity cafes and other administrators that have crossed this pathway, that it would bring the community together, the Hispanic community together. And he said that there was no measurable outcomes in that nothing has changed in District 11. And I took his advice to heart, and I promised him that day that we will follow up on it, and within a couple of months, we will figure out getting the translator position. And I know that the positions were advertised, and I don't want to go into that, but we followed that up now. And I also got to meet with a couple of community members soon after that, Ms. Delia Busby, who has good connections in the Spanish language speaking community. And she put me in contact with several Spanish language speakers whose names all I forwarded to Ms. Bailey. And soon enough, over Christmas break and right before Christmas break, we ended up hiring 2 language coordinator positions. And today morning I called Jose and I talked with him over the phone, and I said to him that what you asked of me, we made it happen now. You do have this opportunity. The next time somebody visits Holmes Middle School, where he was there will be a translator. And we want to introduce our 2 translators. Superintendent Gall, do you want to talk about them? I think, yeah.
Yeah, so we have Romy and Will. Can you both come forward? Please come to the podium. If you could just briefly address the board and tell them where you're from and your language proficiencies, so we can get future audience members mic'd up and be able to translate.
So my name is Romy Sarlier, so I'm half French and half Spanish. So French from my dad's side and Spanish from my mom. So.
Well, great.
And,
if you had an aunt that spoke Ukrainian, it would be great too.
Yeah, I have a little bit of Russian and Italian.
Oh, great.
And Miss Romy was one of the names that Miss Delia Busby gave to me, and I contacted her, and I've been...
Absolutely, yeah.
Yep. And when the position was advertised, I encouraged her to apply, and here she is.
And I'm really grateful to be starting, this journey with the district.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Will?
Hello, my name's Will Hayden. I was born here in the States. My name's Will Hayden. I was born here in the States in Columbia, Missouri, but I majored in Spanish at K-State, and then went on to get a master's degree in international advocacy and leadership from Avila. So I've been studying Spanish for quite a while.
Thank you. So you guys, thank you. Thank you. You can sit down. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, you have a good job. I mean, you have an important responsibility. When I'm talking about families like Jose, you are going to be the glue that brings those families together. Okay, and we are looking forward to that. So thank you. And I will finish with this. We talk about equity, and this conversation will always come up. Some call it equity, Director Loma calls it equality, and Mr. Boyle has referred to as fair. I've heard Superintendent Gall refer to as putting money where mouth is. Bottom line is, we are meeting the needs of every child. Doing right by the mom in the transportation need, and doing right by Jose and his family out there. And it's happening every day in this district, making the educational personal and meeting the needs of our student. So I want to thank our staff that are doing this. I'm not the one that is lifting it. It's our staff that is doing this lift. And I encourage our community, just like Ms. Busby reached out to me and she was helping me, partner with us in this journey. It is easy to always be the first one to throw rocks at us when something goes wrong, but what gives me hope and satisfaction is there are community members like Ms. Busby and Jose who are more interested in finding solutions, so our students are the ones that can end up benefiting. Thank you. Moving on, Adoption of consent items. Treasurer Nelson, can you please make the motion to adopt the consent items?
You turned it off.
You turned it off. Oh, there you go.
I move that the Board of Education adopt all consent items as designated in the agenda. The consent items are E2, approval of December 14th, 2022 regular meeting minutes. E3, approval of the personnel recommendations for January 11th, 2023. E4, repeal of regulation JH-R-2, online school student participation and absences, and adoption of Board of Education policy DIA, online schools and online programs.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call, please. Marcella.
Dr. Bankus? Aye. Dr. Daniels?
Aye.
Director Jorgensen?
Aye.
Director Loma?
Aye.
Director Malpacum?
Aye.
Director Nelson?
Aye.
Director Ott?
Aye.
The ayes have it. The consent items have been adopted. There are no contract awards. There are no budget transfers. So the first item onto the action item, since we moved it after the adoption, after the modification of the agenda right at the very top of the meeting, is the Unified Improvement Plan. Director Ott, can you please make the motion for item, the Unified Improvement Plan?
Yes. I move that the Board of Education approve the Unified Improvement Plans for submission to the Colorado Department of Education for the following schools: Adams Elementary School, Audubon Elementary School, Carver Elementary School, Columbia Elementary School, Fremont Elementary School, Martinez Elementary School, Penrose Elementary School, Twain Elementary School, Mann Middle School, Swigert Aerospace Academy Middle School, and West Middle School.
Second.
So moved and seconded for the community after the, so just to set some context, and then I will turn it over to Superintendent Gall. After this last round of state testing, 15 D11 schools were identified as priority improvement or turnaround schools. And then it started at the One Plan Symposium at the end of May. Before even the state results were announced, all these schools got together. This were school teams along with parents, partnering with Dr. Case, Dr. David Colaki's team, and they analyzed internal data, identified the root causes, priority performance challenges, and the major improvement strategies. Then these plans were revised in August, September with additional information gathered after the state assessments. And all these plans were extensively discussed at board meetings. I would say we spent collectively about 20 to 24 hours, almost a full day from September to December, looking at every plan individually, listening to presentations, asking questions, providing feedback, and approving resources to be diverted to these schools. And in addition, the DAC Accreditation Committee and individual SACs also spent extensive time reviewing these plans, providing thoughtful feedback and suggestions. So all those have already been incorporated in these plans, and it is here in front of the board for the final approval. So, and then as I mentioned to the board, we are not going to be reviewing all these plans again today. That work has already been done at the work sessions and when these plans came as non-action items. And if you had individual input, you had the opportunity to review them over the past month and reach out to Dr. K and Superintendent Gall. So, but if you have any overarching thoughts, we will summarize that in a minute. But I want to first turn it over to Superintendent Gall. Do you have anything to add, Superintendent Gall?
I would just like all my school leaders that came here to hear about their approval for their USIPs to stand up and be acknowledged. Be careful what you wish for. When I arrived, there were 5 schools on priority improvement and turnaround, and when the state test came out, we moved to a third of our schools being identified. These are the right leaders. They are doing the work. They are surrounded, and I would love to ask them to stand up, but I'll keep them sitting down by the executive cabinet, because that is the relationship. Our executive cabinet is circled around our schools, and we are in service of schools. And so my team will remain seated while these esteemed leaders are standing to do the work that we have to do day in and day out. We could not be more excited about the mid-year data that we're able to report next week at the work session. We're not all the way there, but we have strong indication that says when you flip the model this way and you put executive cabinet around the needs of schools and you spend the time and you work together as a team in a collaborative way, you can do and make the impossible possible. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. And before I turn it over to the board, I do have the DAC accreditation chair, Ms. Marian Clausen, here. She is going to come and give a brief feedback to the board. She and her committee was extensively involved in reviewing these plans and giving feedback. So, Ms. Clausen.
Hi. Good evening, President Malpacum, board members, Mr. Gall. Thank you for having me. So I'm Marian Clausen, and I'm the chair of the DAC Accreditation Subcommittee. And I want to thank everybody for their dedication and flexibility in this reviewing process. So the state requires the board review of all the school improvement plans for schools that have received the rating for priority improvement and turnaround status. And it's one of the DAC charges to participate in this review process and provide feedback on the plans to the schools and also report to the board. We have done the work in this subcommittee over the past 3 months, and we provided feedback to the board because of the large number of the plans. The feedback was done via email. I think I sent like 5 emails to you guys and also included Mr. Gorl and the area superintendents in those. Early in the process, I took the time to meet with the state to find out what are they looking for in these plans, and I had a little paragraph here, and I think I'm going to skip it because President Malpacum already said some of those. So it's really about like looking at the root causes and identify major improvement strategies and have a well-designed action plan and include effective monitoring for the progress. And so we use these questions from the state to guide the committee's work. And we noticed that the questions they use at the state are pretty similar to what the district uses at their One Plan Symposium in May and June. And the Unified Improvement Plan results out of those one plans. They're just more condensed and more streamlined version, and it's like a one-time snapshot, while our one plans is a living work document. Another difference is that the plans are based on the one plan is based on a district data, and it reviews a multitude of data sets, including the district benchmark results, the 5 essentials panorama surveys, attendance and behavior data, just to name a few, while the state only looks at the CMAS data. Due to the pandemic and the adjustment in state testing, the CMAS data used for these ratings this year were not a complete data set. The gross data, which weighs the most in determining these ratings, was limited. So this year's CMAS data did not consistently align with the district benchmark data that was used in a one-plan process, and so some schools got a surprising SPF rating, and others, of course, knew that that was coming. This caused a little bit of a difficulty in the work process for our committee. We noticed that we're looking at improvement plans that were not up to date, and it was difficult to provide quality feedback. So adjustments were made, and we aligned the process of the committee's work with the board presentations, and we invited the area superintendents to attend the DAC accreditation meeting, presenting the plans, answer questions, and get feedback directly from the committee. At this point, I would like to thank the area superintendents for coming and talking to us, and want to say we're not an easy committee to come to, so thanks for being brave. We asked hard questions in this committee. During our review, we noticed some elements that are commonly mentioned in this plan. So we noticed the plans and the presentations got more structured and cohesive. The one plan directive that was given to put the first major improvement strategy connected with the best first instruction to address student learning as a critical performance area prioritizes the goal of improving student outcome equals higher achievement and cross scores. Many schools mentioned the following root causes. There were staffing challenges. There were staff changes, including new building leadership, new teachers. There is inconsistent lesson planning and lack of time for professional learning communities, PLCs. Many schools experienced a lack of trust, mentioning student to teacher, teacher to teacher, teacher to principal, teacher to parent, and all those shows in low scores in their 5 essential survey. They had attendance and behavior issues and the lack of consistency in effectively addressing those. Many of these issues are connected to school culture and climate. The DAC acknowledges and appreciates the district expanding the support for best first instruction and the hard work that is happening. We ask the district to extend an equal amount of support to areas related to school climate and culture. Do not leave it up to the schools to ask for help. I want to thank the schools for taking the Unified Improvement Plan seriously. As those become public record, the plan represents your school as well as the district. We appreciate that the DAC feedback was incorporated in the current version of the plans. The DAC encouraged each school accountability committee, their SACs, to work with their school to hold them accountable. The DAC accreditation subcommittee will continue to monitor these schools, asking, do we see changes that will them get to reach their goals? Is the process going as intended? Are the strategies working? Are the schools doing what they said they would do? It is important to understand that a school performance framework rating is purely based on student outcome and is unrealistic to expect every single school to turn it around within the school year. That means we will have more unified improvement schools, a few of them next year. So I have a few recommendations for the process for the future. So we expect the district benchmark data, the STAR data, to be more aligned with the CMAS data. So educational insights can already determine which schools may make it out of their rating. The One Plan Symposium will have a variety of data and all the tools the school need to go through the process, which will result in a solid One Plan, which then can be used to produce a qualified unified improvement plan if it's needed. Once the state data, the CMAS data, will be released over the summer, we ask that Education Insights checks the alignment of the district benchmark data with the CMAS data. And if the data aligns, the Unified Improvement Plan can come straight to the DAC review. If they are not aligning, if there's differences, we ask that Education Insight work with these schools to update their Unified Improvement Plans before the DAC review. As a parent, I would like that a school performance rating determined by a state using one set of data says very little to nothing about my child's day-to-day experience. So if you're concerned about what's going on at your school, please participate in your school's accountability committee. Go to a SAC meeting, make your voice heard, hold your principal accountable, and be part of the team. So I want to see if there's any questions, because I brought also some exciting news for you guys, just to finish, not related to these ones, but yeah.
Any comments or questions to Ms. Clausen? Director Bankus.
I certainly want to make sure that we as a collective body give our appreciation not only to you, but the whole DAC Accountability Committee. What a tremendous amount of work you all have done, and you've allowed us the information that we need so that we can make a learned decision. So thank you.
I will pass that on to the committee members. because they are awesome. Thank
Okay,
you.
seeing no further, now share the exciting news.
All right, the exciting news. So, as the DAC Accreditation Committee, we'll look at all the school performance framework scores, and then we get to put a recommendation to the board to accredit schools with a rating called accredited with distinction. Not an easy thing to say for a German. So, so we voted of what's the cutoff score, and we went with 74 and above. And so I'm excited to put forward the following schools for the board to give the rating accredited with distinction. So we got Odyssey Echo, Academy ACL, and then the following elementary schools are Stratton, Trailblazer, Hobart, Scott, Chipeta, Taylor, and Bristol's. So congratulations to those schools, and thank you for your time.
I see the Scott principal here. I don't see any other principal. So I don't think those principals are here. Could you send that list, the list that you have for the
I already did.
Oh, you already did?
The
Yes.
email
I
just
didn't
came
check
out
my-
today.
Okay, I didn't check my email. That's great. Then it's our responsibility to follow up and do the necessary things to acknowledge these schools and recognize them. This is, incredible work that some of these schools did, because sometimes we look and say, hey, the pandemic is challenging, but these schools rose above that challenge, okay, found a way, and this is the same message we give to our students. You are going to face challenges throughout your academic career, and you have to find a way to stand up, and it's not how many times you get knocked down, how many times you get stand up, and that's what these schools did. So we certainly want to recognize these schools. Thank you. Any other comments to the principals or feedback, overall thoughts that the board has? Director Ott.
Thank you. So I just want to acknowledge that we could have voted on this in December, and I appreciate the extra time to actually be able to review the UIPs once they were finished, in theory. And just 2 notes on that, an observation for future summaries, especially as I reviewed the executive summaries. One thing became quite clear, and it said, let me find the language. When our school, and often we talk about the importance of language, and it's not the school, it's not the building, it's not the school, it is the staff, it's the we that are making the changes. And I want us to recognize that it's about relationships, and we the people, we the staff, in your case for staff, who are making that difference. And so maybe in the future, instead of, at least for the summaries, I didn't read every UIP this time thoroughly, but instead of saying when our school does this, when our school does that, just say when we do this. And I think that communicates that there are real people behind your efforts, and that we can recognize that and appreciate you. The other thing, no, I guess that was really it. Just, again, appreciate the time to review. Oh, I know. I just want to say these have improved so much. In the 5 years I've been on the board, I know some of that's CDE and some of it's the one plan, and I really appreciate the narrative that shows. And at this point, the executive summaries do not do justice to the amazing content that is now in these UIPs and that discusses the strategies that you all are working to use and change the direction of your schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Jurgensen.
Just to echo Secretary Bankus' work of the DAC committees and subcommittees and accreditation committees, thank you so much for all that work. I know that is a lot of data to look through and to comb through to help these schools get everything kind of prim and polished for review here. So thank you to them. Thank you to principals for being here tonight, for the kind of setting out from here now officially, right? You've already been doing the work, but officially from this point forward, leaning in and getting that work done. I'm just so very excited to see a lot of you not even have to worry about anything after this year because you're going to get out of it and you know, take advantage of that year zero and get after it. So your board is behind you, your area superintendents are behind you. If you feel like you can't reach out to them, there's a problem. So let the board know if that's the problem. But I've heard it's great that you have your area superintendents, your different resources available. Use them as much as you need and get everything that you need to get after it. So best of luck, and we're with you and we're behind you.
Seeing no further comments, I'm going to have a few closing thoughts to the principals too. Again, piggybacking on what Director Jurgensen said, thank you for all being here. And thank you for being here during the work sessions. And principals wear multiple hats in your buildings, but I'm sure one of the toughest conversations you can ever have is to come to a public board meeting and have to analyze and self-reflect on what went wrong. And I saw a lot of candid honesty in the presentations that you made in front of the board. You got emotional, some of you got emotional, but that's because you care about your students and you care about your staff, and that means that you want to make a difference. And some of you principals are brand new in this job, so to some extent you walked into a challenging situation, like the principal at Penrose that had to step in the middle of the year into a challenging situation and say, hey, I am going to turn this thing around. So I appreciate that your passion, your commitment to wanting to do right by your students and your staff. And you heard some feedback during that time from the board, and it was all meant as constructive manner to improve our schools. I hope you take that in that spirit, nothing more than that. The pandemic has been a challenge, and I know, and you just heard some of the other schools that have excelled during the pandemic. So it's wherever there is a challenge or an obstacle, there is opportunity for you guys to excel too. So finding those solutions, functioning effectively as a team, and you have supports and resources within our school district, schools that are functioning. So reach out to the principals that have discovered ways to succeed and excel, and use them so for your benefit in your schools. The board has established a clear set of priorities, and they all revolve around student outcomes, increasing student outcomes, increasing support for our staff, community engagement, all with the goal of increasing student achievement and enrollment in our schools. That urgency is now, okay? That was communicated to Mr. Gall when he took his job. Our students do not have the luxury of time. We got to figure out a way to build this plane while we are flying it, okay? And for you, that same thing, the message I have, that urgency is clear. Okay, you are also, most of you are not officially on the state accountability clock. This is year zero, Director Jurgensen talked about it. But if you don't improve at the end of this year, then you go on the accountability clock, and to get out of that clock is a far more rigorous and challenging process. So you have a clear objective now that you don't want to be a priority improvement or turnaround school at the end of this year. Each one of you have a plan in place, which the board is going to approve unanimously, hopefully unanimously in a short amount of time. And that means that the board is completely behind your plans. But the best laid plans, you know, what they say about it. So you are the building leaders out there. You got to ensure that these plans are being implemented on a day-to-day basis with fidelity, that these plans are being monitored, that you are looking at the data and ensuring your staff are having the necessary supports or the PLC time that they need, providing regular feedback to them during the learning walks, and correcting your plans if necessary, tweaking it. So that's the plan. Ensure that every child in our building is known, valued, and encouraged, set high expectations for a child, for every child, and when those expectations are set very high, you would be surprised every child is going to meet and exceed those expectations. So thank you all for being here. And the good thing that Superintendent Gall mentioned, the mid-year data indicates that you are progressing in the right direction. So that is really promising, and we will be discussing more extensively the mid-year data next week. Changing the culture in a building is the most difficult job that is there, and you are making that heavy lift in every one of your schools, and that's the lift we are asking the superintendent to do district-wide. And that culture starts with building trust, collaboration, and community partnership in your school. So our students always come first, every one of them. As an adult, we have to ensure that they have a rich educational opportunities for all our students so they can excel. Okay, that's all I have. So thank you for all of you being here, and I wish you the best. And Director Loma is going to be visiting some of your schools pretty quickly, so, and I'm sure a lot of us would be there too. So thank you, guys. With that, seeing no further comments, Superintendent Gall, do you have any closing thoughts?
No.
Okay, thank you. Marcella, roll call, please.
Director Bankus? Director Daniels?
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Director Jorgensen?
Aye.
Director Loma?
Aye.
Director Malpacum?
Aye.
Director Nelson?
Aye.
Director Ott?
Aye.
The ayes have it. The unified school improvement plans have been approved, and now they can be submitted to the state. Thank you all for being here. I don't want to see you here next year in the same circumstance. Come back in a different school spotlight section. So moving on, the next item on the agenda is designation of the official posting location for Board of Education meetings and notices. Director Daniels, can you please make the motion?
Yes, I can. Thank you. I move that the Board of Education designate the bulletin board immediately outside the boardroom at the School District 11 Administration Building located at 1115 North El Paso Street, Colorado Springs, Colorado 80903 as the official location for posting notices. In addition, the board also designates the District 11 Board of Education webpage along with the board docs website as official locations for posting notices of board meetings for 2023.
Second.
Moved and seconded. This is just routine board business. The meeting details and the agenda has to be displayed to the public, and what we are saying is it will be displayed outside along with the board docs website. Any comments by board members on this? Okay, roll call please, Marcella.
Director Bankus?
Aye.
Director Daniels?
Aye.
Director Jorgensen?
Aye.
Director Loma?
Director Loma stepped outside.
Director Malpacum?
Aye.
Director Nelson?
Aye.
Director Ott?
Aye.
The ayes have it. The designation of the official posting location for the Board of Education meetings and notices has been adopted. Legislative agenda. I don't see Director Loma here, so Director Ott, can you please make the motion?
I move that the Board of Education approve the 2023 legislative agenda.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. This was discussed at the work session last week. I circled back with a lobbyist asking for any revision suggestions for the legislative agenda. And I sent that email to the board. I think his recommendations are already incorporated in that document. Any thoughts or comments by the board on this topic?
No.
Seeing none, roll call please, Marcella.
Director Bankus?
Aye.
Director Daniels?
Aye.
Director Jorgensen?
Aye.
Director Malpacum?
Aye.
Director Nelson?
Aye.
Director Ott?
Aye.
The ayes have it. The legislative agenda has been adopted. So moving on to non-action item now. The first item on the item is mid-year modifications to the 22-23 adopted budget. So this item is new information. I don't see Superintendent Gall here. So I'm going to introduce Ms. Laura Haranik. And are you the one that's going to be leading this discussion? Okay, Ms. Laura Haranik, you are here to talk to the board about the mid-year modifications, and then Superintendent Gall will momentarily join us.
Okay, I have a brief PowerPoint.
Okay.
Just talks about the changes. This is a standard process we do every year. We have the opportunity in the middle of the year to update our budget for things that we didn't know about at the beginning of the year. So these are some of the reasons that we need to modify our budget in the middle of the year. We have a total program funding change. That's based on our certified pupil count, our assessed valuation, and other revenue factors that we didn't know about at the beginning of the year. We also have our audited financial statements, and we adjust our fund balance. We know what our actual staffing came in at that was estimated at the beginning of the year, and occasionally we adjust other projections, like our categorical revenues and or other expenditures. This is our total these are some key changes from our adopted budget. Honestly, these are very minor changes. Our actual pupil count came in 70,000 or 70 students over what we had budgeted. Our funded pupil count came in 34 students under what we had budgeted. The per pupil revenue is $34 higher than we had budgeted. These are very minor adjustments. These are the elements of your total program: property taxes and specific ownership taxes, our local funding, and then the state backfills anything that's not collected from a local source. The adjustments again here are very minor. Overall, we're getting about $509,000 additional funding from what our adopted budget was. This slide is just kind of carried over from year to year. This just shows that when the state added that negative factor to the School Finance Act, it significantly affected the amount of funding we get from the state. This year alone, our funding is being reduced due to that negative factor by $10 million. These are a couple other changes to the revenues that are budgeted in the general fund. The fund balance, I had projected that we would bring in net income of $14 million. We actually brought in $14.5 million, so we have another $500,000 in fund balance. We've adjusted categorical funding. These were estimated by the state at the beginning of the year. Those are increasing slightly, mainly due to the special ed funding. They've increased the per pupil funding for special ed students. We're going to see a reduction in our specific ownership tax. Specific ownership tax is allocated to all of the levies within our boundaries, and since we reduced our levy due to the bonds being paid off, we no longer get as big a portion of the specific ownership taxes as we had initially budgeted. We've got some E-rate reimbursements from tech projects that we did. We're going to get slightly less tuition reimbursement. When we teach classes for Pikes Peak Community College, they reimburse us for that. Here's a big one, $1.3 million increase in the budgeted interest income. This is just due to cash balances we have and the increase in interest rates. Charter schools came in slightly below what we had projected. That means we get to keep more of the funding. So that's shown as a positive to our revenues. These are a few other modifications to the expenditure side. We don't have any recurring budget modifications. There's a budget modifications packet that was attached separate. There were 3 or 4 budget modification requests that total $3 million in non-recurring items. I'm not going to go into details about those. We adjusted salaries based on the actual people that were hired rather than what we had budgeted. Those came in about $1.5 million less than we budgeted. Honestly, that's very close given the amount of staffing we have and the estimates we had to make. The fund balance task force allocated some money to various programs. I've just shown that as an increase in programmatic budgets and taken out of the contingencies. So you'll see that in the categories, the program categories rather than contingency. And we're also budgeting those E-rate funds. I think I just mentioned we were getting additional revenue. Let's go ahead and appropriate those for IT projects. This is the reserves that we have in the general fund. When we adopted the budget, we had to estimate a lot of these. Now that our audit is over, we know exactly what all of these are. We know what our encumbrances came over as. We know what our table reserves are. I've set aside separate contingencies for fund balance projects in future years just to identify how much we're planning to spend in each of those years. And then ultimately that all came out of the undesignated contingency there at the bottom, which has been decreased to $36 million. This is a change in appropriation to other funds. I don't think there's anything significant going on in these other funds, like where you see a big change in grants and stuff. That's just due to timing. When we adopted this budget in April, we didn't know what our actual expenditures were going to be between April and June and July 1st. So we actually ended up spending more than we had planned. So we have to reduce our appropriation in that fund. And the exact opposite happened there for capital reserve, where you see an increase in appropriation. They had forecasted to spend a bunch of money and they wouldn't carry it over. They didn't actually spend that money. They carried over more. We're increasing that appropriation to reflect that carryover. I don't think there's anything significant in these funds. That's it.
Okay, before we go into the mid-year budget request, let's turn it over to the board for questions or comments. Director Bankus. You may want to keep that. Do you want that
Yeah, the
presentation?
changes to other funds?
Yeah, maybe we need that presentation on the thing, so.
I think it's the last slide. Looking at grants, I'm not clear, does that mean that we had fewer grants that we've applied for and been approved for? There was something that you said about a three to 5 month window. I'm not sure what that all.
So I'm not aware of any increase or decrease in the actual grants we have or we've been awarded. This has to do with how much carried over versus what we had estimated would carry over. So when the budget was built, we did not know we were going to spend so much money. We thought we were going to carry over a lot. We had planned to spend that this year. That's why we adopted a huge appropriation of $120 million. When everything was trued up and audited, we had actually spent more in last fiscal year in FY22 that we don't have to spend this year. We need to reduce our appropriation for what we actually have. I am not aware of any grants that we did not receive. This is just due to how much was carried over.
I see. Thank you.
Director Nelson.
On the slide 7, it speaks to adjusting salary and benefits to actual staff. Can you explain that again? I don't think I'm following, because we still have vacancies. So shouldn't we see a surplus, not a negative?
So this is just what we had budgeted for salaries versus what they actually came in at. This does not change any positions. So this includes, we still have a lot of positions that are vacant that we still have budgeted. This doesn't talk about any vacancy money. This just talks about, at the beginning of the year, I had planned we're going to have 3,000 teachers at this amount. And when we actually hired them, some of them came in higher or lower. So this is still not changing any FTE or staffing. It just changes what they actually came in at versus what I budgeted them at.
Yeah, and so for clarity there, we budget on average salary. And so, and we do that on purpose because there can be a perverse incentive that we want to make sure we protect against, age and or cost discrimination of employees. So particularly for large groups, we will budget schools on average teacher salary. And so to be that close, when you think about that, although not to say that $1.4 million isn't a significant amount of money, but when you see the amount that we budget on our teaching staff, if I use teachers, to be that close says that our average teacher salary is pretty close to the average teacher.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. And then on, I guess I didn't write down which slide it is, where it talks about the AMP implementation, it still has $2 million. So we haven't actually utilized any funding we've set aside for our pathways schools. Is that, am I interpreting
So that is what we
correctly?
carried over. I didn't adjust if they have actually used some of that contingency
okay.
at this point in the year or not.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. That was all my questions. Well, I guess just a quick, do you have any concerns or anything that, I mean, based on previous years, is this all like, this is
With
pretty
this
much
mid-year
typical?
budget, this is a very minor adjustment compared to some years we bring over a huge fund balance, we appropriate that at mid-year. Some years our funding comes in significantly different. I mean, this is really more of a formality that we've always done.
Okay.
These are very minor changes to the budget.
Thank you.
I should also add that I hung an entire mid-year budget book that has extensive details on every single revenue and every single expenditure. I've reconciled every single change, and all of the other funds have line-by-line detail as well.
Okay. 81 pages, in case anyone wants to read it. I will try to at some point. Thank you.
Any other questions on the presentation itself that Ms. Aranek presented? Okay, seeing no further questions, are you going to be talking about the mid-year modification request? How is that going to work? There are several requests that are attached.
Those are just built in. They were just
Well,
kind of
right.
urgent needs, and we took them to the budget committee, and it seemed like the executive committee was all in support of those. So I just went ahead and built them in. They're disclosed in the packet with all of the details behind what was requested.
Okay, so if the board has questions on specific requests that you are making, would we be directing it to you or to the owners of those requests?
Come to Laura and I,
Okay.
and we'll answer
Okay.
the questions with the fidelity from those divisions.
Okay, so does the board have questions on the mid-year budget request that was presented? And if we look at the data up there, I think there are 6 or 7 requests out there when I looked at it last night.
Right, there was a third attachment that was simply the mid-year budget modification request.
PDF.
Yeah. So there are 7 requests, I think, 1, 2, 3, 7 requests. Does the board, is the board comfortable with this or, okay, Director Nelson.
Just a quick question on 2 of the items. One of them is covering transportation, the hop, skip, drive, and then the other is covering custodial overtime. Is it kind of a formality that we're having to fund this money to these items when in reality we haven't spent money? The reason we're having to pay overtime for custodial is because we have so many vacancies. So the money is just kind of, it's already there. Like, this isn't necessarily in addition to what we've already budgeted. Is that fair to say? And then
Right.
similar with the transportation, we have vacancies in bus drivers. This is why we are having to utilize hop, skip, drive and the other services. So the funding just,
Right.
is that fair?
We have a lot of vacancies in those areas, and we can shift funding from salaries to those areas. It's just shown as a budget increase instead of a transfer, just due to the fact that we're not eliminating those positions at this point in time.
I see. That makes sense. Okay, thank you.
Okay, no further questions from you? Director Art.
Thank you. To your questions there, my question is always around something like that is if we were to find those additional funds, this is really for superintendent consideration, if we were to find those funds and put them toward transportation for our students, I always wonder, could those funds be used for increasing salary? And I realize that might be outside of our ESP
Yeah, and that's part of next
negotiations.
year's budget build. And
Okay.
so I've asked each of the division chiefs as well as the schools to tell me what you need and what you don't need, and then let's actually give the money to the people that have done the work for us to be able to do that. And so Laura and I have plans specifically on bus driver salary increase for us to find to see if that rectifies the challenge that we have in training and retaining bus drivers.
Okay. We'll keep it under our hats as much as possible from the other districts until we announce that we're paying
Don't say the
so
number
much
because
better.
everybody will try and beat you by $1.
Exactly. All right, the other the concern or issue I had, I think traditionally we have listed positions that are then going to be continued in the next year as recurring because they are coming back. And yet the superintendent CTE STEM-based increase with the training and additional training, travel expenses for superintendent 1 and the superintendent 2, the additional assistant principals FTE, and those are not listed. They were listed as recurring in the documentation, crossed out, and now are non-recurring. And I understand that we'd like to think that, well, we're going to include those next year, but they will be recurring next year, will they not?
So at this point in time, just based on the fact that we don't have a big increase of recurring revenue, so we wanted to reevaluate them as part of the bigger budget build. So both those items will come back again. If they are to carry forward, the presenter will need to re-present them as part of the budget build for reconsideration.
So are they being hired for the spring? Then?
I think that those principals or assistant principals are just being addressed to urgent needs right now, and then there'll be some attrition we can reallocate next year if it's decided that they are not.
And so I've been clear with the board that we're coming to the board with an instructional leadership team model that will include likely 10 additional AP requests for next year's budget. The 4 that we have added into this year's budget are a reflection of schools trouncing their enrollment and now having over 450 students when we include preschool, which was moving McCullough from a half FTE to a full FTE, the same for Scott, and then full to go from 0 to 1 APs in Martinez and Chipeta. All these are designed for us to be able to execute the instructional strategies of not expecting a principal to have 30 plus evaluations that they have to carry within their building. So these are critical. It is very unlikely that I think that I'll actually be able to hire full-time APs just for the spring, but we do have one of these positions is already in-house. We have a split AP between McCullough and Scott. Ashlyn, I forget her last name, I just know Ashlyn. Smith, thank you. Thank you, our principal from Scott. And for anyone to ever think that we can program a half of an administrator position again at the school level, we cannot do that. Because an administrator, an AP, she has to know everything of each one of those schools. Now, she may only spend half a day in one school or every other day in one school, but she is carrying twice as much responsibility in her brain to be able to give that administrative support. I don't like half FTEs anyway, but if I were to make a comparison of someone who manages their day by period, then I could say I teach 3 classes in one school and 4 classes in another. But again, we have to be careful, because if that is a self-contained class, again, that's a teacher who has double the number of students that they have to carry in their brain. So when we push the budget forward for next year, we'll be avoiding these half FTE solutions. It's just not fair to the employee unless we can literally make it an hourly, I'm spending a half a day doing this hourly wage service, of which then I just shift to a different region. But when we're involving relationships with people, particularly students, it's unfair to the employee to ask them to carry twice the load because we can't find the half FTE to be able to get there.
Okay. I thank you for the additional explanation. I guess my overall objection to that is it's a recurring expense. And to me, as a board member, and in reality, and having looked at these for years, we're going to see these people.
Yeah, and so I'm
carry
willing to
next year.
ask the board for these to be non-recurring, and I will bring those 4 positions back for approval for next year as part of the instructional leadership team. And anyone, again, I'm hiring somebody that's already here. I'm going to ask Ashlyn to now spend all day at McCullough instead of going to Scott. And the Scott team is going to put out an ad for that position, of which I will interview and say you are a temporary employee till the end of the year until I can approve this into next year's budget. The likelihood and the timing of those things they're going to happen at the same time, because we're already starting the budget build, and we're happy to be able to bring the instructional leadership team model for us to be able to get there. We have to invest in our classrooms, and we have to invest in our leaders in order to be able to support those classrooms.
Thank you.
And then you had a similar question with the CTE. Was that answered too?
Essentially, yes. These, again, were marked as recurring, and this looks, when you read the information, it appears that it's going to be recurring and that the need will continue. And I absolutely support CTE and training, but I just want us to recognize that these costs will continue.
It's fairly common for us to fund things on a non-recurring basis. We just request that the presenters bring those back every time. It's just we have to balance our resources, and if we can only fund it 1 year at a time, even if it is a recurring need, we fund it 1 year at a time.
Yeah, and if I recall the CTE conversation, there were no personnel in that conversation. These are hopefully recurring costs, and we certainly seek to have an increasing CTE budget. A lot of those dollars were for training opportunities and for travel for our students to be able to compete nationally. And I just want the public to be clear that we changed the process this year for the mid-year piece the mid-year budget adjustments. And we asked the division to come and present to executive cabinet such that we're getting ownership to understanding, and I see that Terry's over there on the natural gas cost. Do we expect to have to spend more on natural gas next year? Terry understands the challenges and can certainly talk in depth about, one, how we're charged, just for transportation of it through the pipe, despite how much you actually put through, and then the perverse way that utilities can charge even public institutions in times of need, the rate greatly increases. And so we did that to be sure that when we build the budget next year, that we don't come in lowballed on natural gas, because we wanted to be learning from this position. And so, although Dwayne's not here to defend his item, it was the same conversation with Dwayne. Don't come in and undercut and think we're going to get fallout money. I appreciate Laura's comments on saying how tight the budget is, but this $3 million to me at mid-year is a concern to say, should we have known that beforehand? We felt very comfortable as executive cabinet approving these for recommendation to the board, and do think that we are tight and that we will program with those in mind going forward next year. And so I think, again, and somebody highlighted, Director Nelson, the trade-off on transportation and custodian is exactly that. Those are unfilled vacancies that we have had to find alternative solutions for. That doesn't mean that we plan to carry them forward as the budget next year. We would love to be able to hire those positions or find the balance in between those two service opportunities. So those will come forward in next year's budget bill.
Any further questions, Director Rock? Okay. Any further questions from the board on this topic? So a couple of things. I just want to make some comments, and I see Terry Seaman out there. The utilities budget, it is what it is. We can't, the natural gas rates are going up. But the only thing that I've been to a couple of schools in my visits, and the heat in the auditorium is turned way up, and I don't know whether the schools control it or whether you control it at central office. And here we are heating that building up, and they have all the doors open to let cold air in. And so it's like...
We have energy savings opportunities, of which I have asked Terry to address outside of the ESCO contract that is being developed right now. We have Travis's name is doing really strong work. This is certainly an area where I come from. I represented a company that did a no-cost energy management relationship on how you use human behavior to actually reset what you believe to be the acceptable and comfortable limit, and there are millions of dollars for us to save there. And again, we'll come forward to the board with the budget bill next year going forward. Many of the challenges that you're feeling when you're in a building is our inability to fix and control the temperature in the building. And so if the option on a cold day is too hot and open the door, that's the way that we're unfortunately managing very aged and malfunctioning equipment as compared to too cold and put a coat on. So albeit still unacceptable, those are things that we're working on to resolve. But most of this is about ability to balance outside air and inside air and set controls and have them be consistent across a building.
Okay, thank you. And the custodial staff vacancies that you have, I know that we have this outside contract, and how many of those vacancies have been filled up? Just so we have an idea.
Finishing the year, we had 21 of 25 contractor positions filled, with the last 4 pending onboarding right now. We've already cleared them. Because they were slow to onboard the 25, we have enough funds that we're asking them to, we've modified the contract and we're bringing on 10 more. So this will help us get through this semester.
So you are getting 10 more contractor positions?
Yes, sir, for a total of 35 for the remainder of this fiscal year.
Okay. And is that the request that is being made at this time?
No, this is
No, that was custodial overtime.
Oh, okay. Okay. And the overtime for our staff is necessary because we don't have enough staff out there?
Yes, sir. And the ABM contract was to bridge the gap, being slow to stand up, and they've had the same amount of turnover that we've had in their custodial. So we've had a recurring need for overtime. Once we pay the December overtime with that budget mod, we'll have $106,000 for the remainder of the year. So part of it is we had contract dollars, So we're increasing that. We're cutting back on the overtime that we're authorizing going forward.
Okay, thank you. And the last question, I think this will go to Director Chief Bailey. The request that you had about the hiring bonus and retention bonus. Kind of give us an update on what's happening out there.
Thank you, President Malpacum and board directors. We basically, this was initially a pilot that we started a year ago, January. And so since it was a pilot, we didn't know the impact of how many individuals we were going to have to hire, the resignation. So because of that impact, we are in the red. I mean, it has worked. We have hired approximately over 500 individuals into our system. So therefore, they're being hired. It's costing us money. But, we would like to finish out the year, and that's why we are requesting additional funds so that we will, get to the end of the year and then see where we go from there.
Okay, thank you. And then to Superintendent Gall, the conversation would be whether we need to extend this hiring bonus to the next year.
Right, that'll be a decision and a conversation point as we go through the budget build. We are just over 500 total hires for the year of all classifications, which is roughly just over 10% of our workforce at about 4,500. That is a healthy retention rate, but we still have 200 vacancies. And so I think it is for us to determine if we think that $2,500 hiring bonus is enough to continue to attract folks, or if it is differentiated and indirect ways that we're modifying our compensation opportunities for all classifications.
Okay.
And I would say that the mid-year budget request here is also connected to some of the disconnects that still exist within PeopleSoft of how it is that we hire against a vacancy and then how it then trickles down into the budget for us to see what that overall cost is. During the Fund Balance Task Force, there was conversation about us believing that we were actually had leftover funds on hiring bonuses. I don't recall if Director Nelson remembers that. That was leftover hiring bonus that we had from the previous year's budget that rolled into this year's budget. But we have hired with such abandon here over this year that we went through that money pretty quickly. And now this is what we need to be able to complete the promise to the folks that we hired this year with the hiring bonus.
Okay. And the last comment I had is I see we can save money at King Soopers.
Hiring bonus for King Soopers.
I see the Scott principal here and the McAuliffe principal and also the Martinez principal here. So I am fully supportive of you getting that assistant principal, full-time assistant principal. I hope that I know that we do a lot for, we put aside resources for our priority improvement and turnaround schools because they do need it. But at the same time, we do need to take care of our schools that are doing well and Chipeta too. So these principals, you've been doing yeoman's job out there. I'm glad that you will get a full-time assistant principal. Hopefully you're able to find quality hires at the top of this hiring cycle right now. So. Any further things? So this item will come as action item in front of the board next in a couple of weeks' time. In the meantime, if you have any follow-up questions directed to Superintendent Gall, when it comes back as action item, we will not have too much of a lengthy discussion at that time because we've done this already. But if you have any questions directed to Superintendent Gall. Moving on, policy IHB and regulation IHBR, parent guardian engagement in Title I education. Dr. X and Mr. Gall. Dr. X, welcome. Dr. X, I think somehow you got demoted back to the bottom of the board agenda, so I don't know what happened after that. So.
Well, I kind of figured that was from last time. So, good evening, President Malpacum, members of the board. Superintendent Gall. Tonight we introduced two policies related to school, community, and home relationships. Policy IHB and regulation IHBR, parent, guardian, and family engagement in Title I education, is being forwarded to the board tonight for repeal from policy section I, which is our instruction series, and we're asking for readoption to policy section K. which would introduce the policy as KBA and regulation KBA-R. The content of the policies relates to school and parent engagement and Title I education, so it fits under the K series much better. That aligns with that aligns with state and national coding standards. This policy is required by law since we do take Title I funds. We did make some minor revisions that were just simply removing titles of employees and replacing them with departments, but no other content changes were made.
Okay. Any questions or comments on this policy and the regulation that goes with it? Seeing none, is the board comfortable moving this to consent? Okay. I see several thumbs up. So we are moving on rapidly, and I'm sure the next one will go pretty rapidly to policy KEC. Let me look at this. Is it KEC? Yeah.
Correct.
Public concerns, complaints about instructional and library resources.
Yeah, policy KEC, public concerns, complaints about instructional and library resources is being forwarded this evening with minor revisions related to how the district and schools address complaints about instructional and library materials. The policy was last revised in 2015 and is scheduled for review in accordance with Board Policy BG. Revisions include clarifying language in Section 2C to align to Board Policy AC, which is our non-discrimination and equal employment policy, and also to include the addition of the term educational merit when reviewing materials. We want to make sure that the board is aware that we did provide a revision today. There was an error in the Section 2C where Dr. Nelson notified me that there was not a complete definition in accordance with AC. It wasn't a direct match, so we did put that new one in there to include all groups. And additional revisions inside of this policy are just associated with general alignment to the style guide.
Director Nelson.
I had some questions on this policy, and rather than how I did it last time with emailing you guys, kind of some thoughts on edits, I am proposing that we kick this to a work session like you recommended at that last board meeting instead of us hashing it out tonight. It seems like, given especially the public comment tonight, there's concern about that we're wanting to ban books, and that's not our intention. So I just don't want to spook anybody by trying to do this through sending you an email and everything. And I would like a better understanding of the process of how we bring in library books, and it seems like maybe it would be beneficial to look at as a whole all of the policies that are related to this policy, and just that if we are making edits, do they correlate to other related policies, and should we carry them over? And I'll just, that last paragraph on this policy says, in summary, the board assumes responsibility for all books and instructional materials available to students. That just really hits me, like, yeah, we own this. And so there's some things that I would just like for us to consider. We're talking about library resources throughout the policy, but the title is about instructional resources. And given that sentence in that last paragraph, like, how do we broaden this policy to include just our schools, like materials that are introduced to our students in our schools, not just libraries, So I would propose that we that we dig into this more at a work session and can get a little more feedback from administration on what our practices are to help us understand, do we need to edit anything, or is it good the way it is? And, like I said, public comment, being concerned about banning books. I mean, is that something that we as a district have faced? It would just be helpful for me to have more information. So just requesting that of my team.
Superintendent Gall, the thing that Director Nelson is talking about, the process and the practices right now in place of bringing, can that come to a work session?
Yes, my staff's already prepared for that conversation.
Okay. And then the other request that you had was other policies that are intertwined with this policy. Are there a bunch of policies that go together?
Just off the top of my head, there's probably 5 additional ones that we could bring forward at the same
Okay.
time.
Okay. And so anything else? I just want to make sure that if the board's bill is to kick it to a work session where we can have a discussion on it, we are tasking, if it is necessary, our administrative team to come prepared with this information to that work session, so then we can have a productive conversation. You are talking about, okay, combination of policies, so if you can bring that combination of policies, that's one request. And then the other thing is, what's the process that is currently in place, the practice that is currently in place in schools for books to come in. Those are the things. And so I hear you, and we will take a collective thumbs up on all of these. Let's have this discussion first. Director Jurgensen.
Similar sentiments, just some clarity, reading the title of the policy and saying instructional and library materials, and then seeing very little mention of instructional materials in classrooms, or in that bottom paragraph, holds professional staff accountable for their proper selection. Does that mean things that they're privately buying and bringing into their classrooms, is that where we need to amend this policy, or do we need to make 2 separate ones, one for library, one for classrooms, and more information on what CASB has for that? So I think, along the similar lines of Director Nelson, just questions there. It references IJJ and IJL and IMB, and, ones that I think you had already mentioned were slated for having updates to be up to snuff with CASB and state law. So if we can have a productive conversation, understand this process a little better, and then make edits where we need to for alignment, then I'm all for that. And I'm all for, encouraging us to have that all right. Since it's community related, we gotta get this right.
Okay, that's, I think, a second, what I'm hearing is an affirmation to what Director Nelson requested, that you would prefer to have this at a work session discussion, and the same thing, combine policies that are related to this and bring it all to the table at that time.
Yes, and out of, just a, what's the word? Reverence for the work the policy committee is doing. I mean, we have all these ones that you're trying to get through, and for us to go back and forth with policy committee on just one particular one, I feel like it would already bog them down more than they already are. So this is something where we can have a work session, understand it, and get it right, and have one revision and be done. I think that would be appreciated by the policy subcommittee as well, that they wouldn't have to go back and forth with us with all these edits. So that's kind of my other motive there, I guess, yeah. So.
And then the other thing that you brought about was not just the library materials, other materials that may come into the classroom. And I don't know if there is a policy on that. Is there a policy on that?
All right, currently we have policies on library materials and instructional materials.
Right.
Right,
But
not
what
a specific
Director
policy.
Jurgensen was talking about was different, right? Like,
Right. We
Okay.
do not.
okay. Okay, Director Loma.
Well, just the name, public concerns, kind of concerns me. I think it would be behoove us all to dive a little deeper, because I had the same question about what type of private materials can an instructor bring in? And I'm sure they probably do that, and it's probably harmless, but we should talk about that and see if there's any area of concern or not. It's just, public concerns, complaints. So that means, and I like the phrase you use, we own this, the board will own this, and we'll take the hit if it's, if a complaint comes up or there's a public concern, we're gonna take the hit for it. So I think we should dive into this.
Director Nelson.
I'm not sure how we want to go about this. Like, does it make sense to have Mr. X? Are you a doctor? That's what
I am.
Okay, Dr. X, thanks, I was pausing for that. Email the board all the relevant policies, and then we bring our own edits at that work session, or does it make sense that can we even do this with Sunshine Law? Probably not. Have like a shared document, how you do with the policy committee, and people input their comments? Can we do that?
I wouldn't think so.
I guess we probably can't. But it would be nice to know in advance, like if Dr. Bankus wants to propose a change for us to be able to see it, or if I have changes, for them to be able to see it in advance and be able to think about it, rather it being like on the spot. So maybe we just think about that. How can we have it be that we're coming to the work session more prepared and able to kind of have the discussion instead of just right in that moment having to process the information? So think through how we want to handle it, considering, like we have to be careful of Sunshine Law,
So CASB has a policy similar to this, I'm assuming? The same?
They do. And when we do the work session, if it's okay with the board, I can provide CASB samples for all of the policies that I bring forward as well. So we can
That would be a good starting point. And then it lets us compare what's in the CASB policy compared to what's in our policy, if it aligns with each other. Okay. At least that's a good starting point to go from. And then I'll follow up with some more comments out here. Director Rock.
Thank you. I'm not opposed to a work session. I think given that the policy committee has already, as a significantly large group, given this policy to us, and the questions that it sounds like you have and expect others to have, I think that that's probably going to feed into people's concerns. So, and to your point of being able to share what concerns people might have, I wonder if you might at least address them so we would be aware of what your interests are before we go into a work session. We would just have that knowledge in front. And then we don't have to necessarily troubleshoot it today, but.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Sure. So, for example, I was envisioning we incorporate language that speaks to, in the very first paragraph, it talks about library materials, and that there's then a sentence added that it's any materials brought into a school by any staff member or third-party organization, that there is a process if a parent or a community member is concerned about material that isn't necessarily library material. You know, the heading says it's instructional resources, but the language throughout the document really only speaks to library materials. So I would just like to add language that clarifies that we're talking about anything that comes into our schools. There's a process for community members to address a complaint if they have one or a concern. So that was, I think, my one of my.
So was that discussed in your policy committee, what Director Nelson is talking about? Or does the policy address that? When I look at the first paragraph, it says all curriculum and instructional material, including library books. So is that sentence means all curricular and instructional material that may come from outside third-party organizations too?
We didn't discuss that specific sentence at the last policy committee meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm realizing that the policy committee is so beneficial, but but it's almost like we're handicapping them because it comes to them first without us seeing it to give guidance on, like, we own policy,
Right.
but we're not giving them guidance on like, this policy is good, you don't really need to do anything, or hey, there's some things in here I think this policy could be weak on, can you guys consider adding it? So kind of the direction it goes seems a little challenging, that they've spent time on this, and I value that they did and don't want to dismiss the work that's already been done. I appreciate it, but it seems a little backwards in how we're so I mean, that's like a whole bigger conversation, but I see that there's an issue. They've already done work on it, but yet the board has not given guidance specifically on policies of how we want it to look. And so I'll stop with that.
Okay. Any other concerns? Is that the major concern you have, Director Nelson?
I mean, I guess I wasn't really planning to go into a lot of
Okay,
detail right
then,
now, but I can.
It looks like we need to circle back with, we may have to, what I would suggest is that Dr. X brings the CASB policy as reference for the work session. And the board comes up with specific revisions that they want to that work session, and then we internally discuss at that work session. What is it? But if there is any specific things Dr. X has to bring to that work session, I would like the board to inform him now so he comes prepared. And I'll come to you, Director Bankers. Director Loma.
Well, I understand your concern, but I think this is part of the process, because it'd be impossible for us to look at all the policies. But we do have a different purview than your committee. We look at things differently because we're at a different angle. So I appreciate the work. I think that work, like pre-work, if you want to call it, but is needed so that we can see what they're thinking, and then we can begin to evaluate what we think our constituents are thinking, those people who put us in office in the first place. So we have a different view, and so I think the process kind of works. We just got to take the time to go,
Yep.
let them do their work, and then we have to do our work.
Okay.
So.
Director Bankers.
I envision this work session to be prickly. And so.
You think?
So I would also like to see the other intertwining policies. I find it difficult to read this one and then go through the board docs and come up with another one. So I would like to see that. And the point made, and I'll just reiterate it, and that is, the board assumes responsibility for all books and instructional materials available to students. And so I take that very seriously. And I want to know as much as I'm supposed to know so I can make a reasoned decision. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Director Art.
Thanks. Just at the bottom of the policy itself, it speaks to, I think, the policies that we'll need to examine along with this one, all the cross-references. And hopefully, Dr. X, you can bring any others to us that are relevant. But a lot of what has been discussed here, this is, yes, the public concerns and complaints about, but the adoption and selection and all of that, reconsideration steps, it's all in those other policies that are down below. So certainly it makes sense to look at them all together so there is greater understanding of what we're responsible for. And,
Okay.
I have to say, we're responsible for every policy, so I hope they're all taken as seriously.
So is there a consensus to bring this to a work session at a future? Okay, great. So what I hear from the board also is that before we come to the work session, and Superintendent Gall said that your team is already prepared. What's the current processes and practices in our schools? And so Superintendent Gall's team is prepared to come to that work session with that information.
Yeah, can we talk about a date? Just because this is a pretty large lift, and I want to make sure, I know we have some other large lifts on the work session, so if you want to.
You and I would have to talk about that behind the scenes.
Great.
We'll figure out. Because right now, the earliest we can bring it is in sometime in February. Or if you have other items that need to come in front of the board, then it's going to be end of February, something like that. So you and I can discuss that. But that's the only thing, the process and practices that are in place in our schools, bring all the policies together, and then the corresponding CASB policy and the wording. If all that can be presented to the board, maybe a couple of weeks in advance, and I will figure out a date and let's let you know, Dr. X, right away when it's coming, whether it's a February or something. Then if you have time in your policy committee, you can also, I don't know if you have time to review all these policies. that are added at the bottom as cross-references and then bring the policy committee's recommendations with those policies. I don't know if you have time in your schedule to do all that at the policy committee and bring it back to the board by that time we have that work session. Yeah.
I don't think that's what we're asking him for. I'm just asking not to have the committee review all these other cross-references. I just want to see the cross-references.
Okay. And if the board...
It's too big a lift.
Right. If the board has revisions to the cross-references, we are not talking about revisions to the cross-references at this point in time? The other policies? Yeah.
If we decide, going along with the idea that the board sends to the policy committee information or direction on these other policies, then it goes back to what Director Nelson was saying, in that the board sends out their thoughts on these other items for their consideration, then they take it and massage it and do what they need to do, and then it comes back to us.
Okay.
That's
Perfect.
a possibility.
Thank you. So the only thing we are asking you is the processes and practices in place, which is Superintendent Gall falls under his domain, and he will get his staff to come and talk to the board at that work session on what the current practices are in that respect. Any other requests that the board has for that work session that the administration has to come prepared is, do we have corresponding policies in surrounding districts? Is that something that we need to consider, or that's not a consideration at this time?
If you would like us to look at other policies, we have access to those.
Okay. If you do, then at least for this policy that we are talking about, KEC. Okay. Thank you. Any further comments or this? Okay. Thank you. Moving on, future agenda, I will work with Superintendent Gall in figuring out a date in the calendar to schedule that. Now to future agenda items. Any requests other than the one that was made regarding this policy? Seeing none. Alice got one. Okay, Director Loma.
For some time now, I've been talking about the Parents' Bill of Rights, and I want to have that as a future item. And really, it was brought up twice by two different people here tonight about that. And I think in order to build trust, because we're trying to establish trust, and that it will begin with all of our constituents, which are the parents. So if we could work on that, look at it, and make something concrete, solid, that the community would get behind. I think it would help with our board priorities as far as community involvement, the importance of the mom and the dad, single mom, single dad, all the guardian, and because these are their treasures, and we're just here for a moment to be able to do what we can with them, and to think that we're anything more than that is very presumptuous. That would be my ask.
Okay, thank you. So, yeah, the Parent Bill of Rights, is there something, a reference? I mean, are we talking about a specific policy, or?
Well, that it could be a policy. I like to put it in our bylaws. I mean, I don't know, it just depends how far we want to go. I think it would be good. It'd be something that would stand the test of time if it were in our bylaws. We can add it, we can vote it in, and that would be, to me, would be a great ad for Colorado Springs community.
Okay, so I'm just trying to figure out how to go about doing this. It's not putting this on a few. I can certainly ask the board for consensus on this or thumbs up. It's who we are tasking to get this Parent Bill of Rights. Is this something that you can provide a starting point?
Yeah, I can provide a starting point. I have contacts. We're not the only one. There's many districts in the country have been doing this same thing. So I'm sure there are other organizations outside of school district that provide a good outline for us to look at and massage and see how it would better fit us.
Okay. So if you've got some type of document like that, send it to me, or you can send it to the whole board, just a beginning document.
Okay.
So that's the, Director Bankus, is your response on this topic? Okay. Director Bankus.
If we take this up, I want to make sure that we include the cafes that we had around the community through Luann's organization, community engagement, so we make sure that we're listening to our stakeholders.
Okay. Not till April, I think. So I think that's when it's tentatively scheduled right now. Okay. Right. So is there thumbs up on Director Loma's request on a work session on the topic of Parent Bill of Rights? And let's preliminarily have that discussion at that work session, and then we can consolidate having those cafes that you requested, Director Bankus. But that is, Director Loma, you would have to send that document, that initial document, before we schedule the work session, so that the board can look at it and come prepared for the conversation out there. Is this something, should the district be involved in this? Mr. Gall, what's the district? I mean, do you have any input on this at this time?
Well, I think this goes to the earlier conversation of where's the cart and where's the horse that was on the previous policy. I think the board needs to get clear on what it wants, and if it's asking to develop a policy, the board does policy, and the district then supports policy and executes it. So I think this, we certainly will make resources available to be supportive of the board, but I feel that we need direction from the board before we then start creating drafts and not quite understanding the will of the board or where it's trying to get to.
Let's start at the work session, and maybe that will provide some direction if it is necessary to the administration. Director Art, is your is your thing on this, or is it a different request? Same? Okay.
Just, I do look forward to seeing the documentation that you will propose, because I suspect that through our policies and parent handbooks, we're going to find that parents have rights, and it's going to be that maybe they're a little scattered, but I would guess that every right that I would assume that pretty much every right that you are asking that parents have, they already have. So I look forward to the discussion.
Yeah, if it's already there, it'll be a short work session, so move on. So is there a thumbs up on this to have this at a thing? Okay, I see at least, yeah, I see that. Okay, so again, this will be a topic that after Director Loma sends me the document or forwards it to the whole board, I will work on figuring out again a time in the work session to fit this agenda in. Any other requests at this point in time? I don't see any. Okay. So calendar review, we have January 18th work session topics. Right now, it's going to be the mid-year academic data review that's going to be there. And then there is bond conversation. Mr. Gall, you're bringing some conversation related to the bonds.
We're just updating the board on the timeline that we committed to earlier in the year for the board to give input if we should proceed or not.
Okay. And is there a memorandum of understanding? Is that what I see out here with the Friends of Children?
This is about using some unused space for Friends of Children at Swigert. They've requested if they can rent some space from us. They're a nonprofit. They're part of our larger Southeast commitment that we introduced during the Mitchell Promise. They are kind of without a home right now. It's a very small footprint. We think it's a pretty easy lift.
Okay. And
no, they, for all intents and purposes, it's a very deep big brothers, big sisters type relationship. They just grab kids very early and then stay with them over the continuum of their K-12 experience.
Okay, we look forward to that conversation. And then the LSIA charter school contract, is that coming back to the board?
Yes, we have some updates for the board on the
Okay.
status of that
So
contract.
that's all I have for the January 18th work session, and the January 25th, we have a board meeting, regular board meeting, and I also asked a board that week for some time to have a board retreat, a couple of topics on that retreat, and this would be facilitated by Dr. Walt Cooper. He is available on several dates that week, and time to whatever is convenient for the board. I can circle back to Dr. Cooper and fix a time, and a date. The purpose of this retreat is twofold. One, to engage with Dr. Cooper and help him facilitate the process about the board dynamics and the board meeting, how to make it more efficient and streamlined. Right, maybe we don't need him. I don't, but that's the topic of it. And then we are also going to be talking about the superintendent contract at some point in time with them. So, is Ms. Hidalgo, did you give this to me? Okay. So is there a consensus time that we agreed on? Is there one? I can't see this. Is there one that everybody agreed on? Oh, I see the one on Monday seems to be the one that most of us, is that Monday from 4 to 7?
From 3 to 6 and 4 to 7.
That
The
would
on-
be, okay.
The only one that would not be able to attend would be Ms. Director Daniels.
Okay. So Monday, 23rd, first looking at, that seems to be the one either from 3 to 6 or 4 to 7. Director Daniels, will that not work for you, either of those times? Okay, can you attend remotely? No. Okay, and then if we look further down, there are multiple board members that cannot attend any of those days. So the only date that I look is Monday, right here, because all the other dates I have 2, 3, 4 board members that cannot attend. Director Loma, you have a. Oh, I'm sorry. There you go. Okay, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, if it's not Monday, I can't make any days. And my daughter is gonna be induced with her twins that week of that week, and I'm not sure if it's the 23rd, I won't be here either, but I'm hoping it won't be the 23rd, and that would be like the only day I might have a chance, you know? So.
Okay. Well, the only problem is I would have to circle back, like your question, Dr. Bankus. I'll have to circle back to Dr. Cooper to find out if he is available. This is the only week he gave me that he is available. So if we have to do it, we'll have to. Okay, Superintendent Gall's suggestion was we will take it offline again and decide. But right now it looks like Monday from 3 to 6 or 4 to 7 is the best option that is out there.
What time can Director Daniels make?
Nothing. On Monday, is there any time on Monday that will work for you, Director Daniels? Nothing. Okay. And the only date that will work for you that week is Tuesday? Okay. That's what the indication is, that the only date that is Saturday a possibility for any other board members? Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll have to circle back. We'll have to talk about this again offline since we can't come to a consensus out here. Okay. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Education adjourned.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call, please, Maricela.
Director Bankus?
Aye.
Director Daniels?
Aye.
Director Jorgensen?
Aye.
Director Loma?
Aye.
Director Malpacum?
Aye.
Director Nelson?
Aye.
Director Ott?
Aye.
The ayes have it. The meeting has adjourned at 9:26 p.m.
Not think we got here.